Happy Fantasy Friday. It's time for book club. We are Lindsey,
Kelly,
and Katharine, and this is the Banner and Bookmarks podcast. We are three book besties diving into romantasy with unhinged theories and a bit of spice.
heads up, this podcast contains spoilers. If you would like a spoiler-free introduction to the book, go back and listen to episode 1, our world-building episode for this series. But for now, we will be covering all things Quicksilver, and it will absolutely be full of spoilers.
So pour yourself a drink, come escape reality with us, and let's talk about books.
This week, we are going to be going over chapters 43 through 45, the final chapters of the book. So let's get into those summaries. Lindsey, why don't you get us started with chapter 43?
Chapter 43, Another Way. Sarah and Malcolm face off, her not wanting to give the coin up to him. He is weakened after biting Carrion, but still powerful enough to overtake her and wrench the coin from her hand. He points at the runes on her hands and says that she is full of untapped power. He then plunges his fist into her stomach, literally, but as he does, Sareth the thief takes the coin back and flips it into the air. It hits the ground, freeing the Fae of Gillifrey at last. Then Sareth picks up Solace and slices off Malcolm's head. His body is engulfed in blue flames as a burst of light tears out of Solace and up into the clouds. Dying in the maze after her fight with Malcolm, Kingfisher and Teladius show up to help her. Teladius tells Kingfisher that there is only one way to help her, and Kingfisher refuses at first. But right before Sareth loses consciousness, she hears Kingfisher say she consents. I just got like chills.
I know.
That is a big one. Chapter 44, Axis. Kingfisher picks up Sareth and carries her back to the group. As she lay in his arms, the voice speaks to her, but she notes that it sounds different, focused. It tells Sareth that it wants to call in its favor, and it requests an audience with her. Before Kingfisher can take her through his shadow gate back to College, Sareth agrees with the Quicksilver, and it pulls her through the labyrinth and into the Quicksilver pool in the center. Sareth wakes up on a grassy hill with two female voices speaking over her, arguing whether or not she is dead. The females are twins, and they have Quicksilver threads running through their eyes. They are part of the Corcoran, Val and Mithin, and tell Sareth that she must hurry. The father is waiting for her. Father is ZARETH, god of chaos, and Sareth realizes it is his voice she has been speaking to the entire time. They speak about Sareth and Kingfisher's fate, and how Sareth was meant to be born a Fae. That their lives are intertwined, and no matter what ZARETH does to keep them apart, he is unable to do so. He tells her that in order to save Kingfisher and give the universe a chance to be saved itself, she can agree to have the thread of her life be severed from the tapestry of the universe. She agrees, and he tells her that he will turn her into something the universe has never seen before. Her god bindings flare, and he shoves her into the Quicksilver pool at his feet.
Chapter 45, Choose Wisely. Sareth is floating in a sea of unconsciousness, but she sees a bird with blue-green feathers. She remembers Kingfisher is her mate, and she suddenly wakes up only to vomit her guts out. Palladius is beside her and tells her she is transitioning into a vampire. But he tells her to look in the mirror, that she is something else, something more. She looks, and she has fey ears and long, sharp canines. Palladius won't tell her where they are and placed a block on her memories, as transitioning is typically very painful. She insists he remove the block on her memories, and as he does, she remembers biting him. Carrion comes to visit her, and they talk about the fact that he is actually a Fae in disguise. He tells his story of living in Zilvarin. Sareth has also been visited by Loreth, who has told her the story of what happened to the rest of the crew after she went through the Quicksilver. Finally, Kingfisher comes to her room. She notices that there is less Quicksilver in his eyes, and he confirms that Taylena and Ishabel have been working to heal him. He also tells her that they are inside Amentraeth, and that in 2 days' time, she will be crowned the new queen of Sanisroth. The end.
And
What? This is insane. Okay. I know. Let's deep dive into these final 3 chapters.
I can't
Besides the
believe
bonus
we're here.
chapters, of course.
It's
Amazing.
just crazy. Crazy.
Listen, all good stories come to an end. Except book
Or-
2.
But wait,
Or still
there's
has 4 more
more.
books.
But wait.
Chapter 43 starts with Malcolm looking like absolutely terrible
Yes.
because Carrion has done a number on him, right?
Good.
Bye.
Good,
Bye.
Carrion. Good.
So the quote we have here is, his skin was melting from his bones, sloughing away in wet, fibrous slabs from his cheeks and his neck. The smell that came off of him was putrid, the stench of rotting meat left out in the sun for too long. Even his eyeballs were shrunken and desiccated in their sockets. Ew.
That's disgusting.
But
That's-
I think it is interesting. What does all of that mean? That is Carrion.
That's
That is-
Carrion's blood.
The definition
But that's
of the word
Carrion.
Carrion
Oh
Carrion
my God.
turned him in
To
to
Carrion.
Carrion.
Rot.
Do we think? Wait a minute. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, one thing.
Do
One
we
thing.
think-
Lindsay, I love that you introduced this because you are perfectly teasing something else that comes down below that I think this rot thing, I think there's legs there.
Okay.
This
Yes.
means
Okay.
something.
I mean, we've
Okay.
been talking about what could his name possibly mean, and the fact that, ew, his name is Carrion, that means rotting flesh. Does this either mean that this is, well, we know that because he's a Dianthus heir and his blood does this to the vampires who are cursed because that was the blood that actually created the curse thing in the first place, right?
It was the blood that found the cure for the
cure.
curse.
Thank you. So because that was the blood of the cure, he couldn't drink from it. So was it that always this was his fate, that he would be the one to kill Malcolm and turn him to Carrion, and that's it? Or is it gonna continue and this is part of his Fae power in the next books? What do we think?
I almost think both.
Yeah.
And remind me, did we say in last episode, because we had this discussion, right, about why him biting Carrion somehow weakened Malcolm above and beyond that whole Dianthus heir? Because Lindsay, you and I had like a nice back and forth where I think we arrived at, it's because Malcolm drank that blood that was used for the cure, that Malcolm has now been cured of his vampirism. He has ingested Carrion, ingested the cure. So that's why he's literally
Right.
Yeah.
desiccating.
Slowly dying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did say in that set of chapters too that for any other vampire, they would have immediately died. But because he was so old and so strong, it kind of took a while. But I don't know what. I cannot believe that it took me until this moment. Y'all, I listened to these 3 chapters 2 hours before we recorded this and still did not make that connection until Lindsay just said it just now.
Yeah.
There's so much there.
The other thing that I think is interesting, like we have talked before about on the podcast about how Callie responded to my Bill the Pony thing, saying that I was correct, right? About Lord of the Rings and the connection to that with fantasy. So I am currently rereading Throne of Glass, as Lindsay does pretty often, right?
It's a comfort read. It's
Fair.
the
Yeah.
best read.
So I'm listening to it right now, and I'm in Heir of Fire, and I kid you not, the word Carrion, I have noticed in Heir of Fire maybe 7 or 8 times in this book
Really?
alone. And it's a word that obviously I've read these books and listened to these books multiple times and never picked it up on. But now that we've been deep diving Quicksilver, I've noticed and I've picked up on the word. And so I kind of wonder if there's a nod to Throne of Glass in there about using the term Carrion, just because I've never once heard it in a book so often as in Heir of Fire right now. So I don't know, but
The other interesting thing is the fact that, like, Callie Hart taught us names matter. I feel like now every book I am reading since then I can't get that out of my head. Names matter. And it is
Are you
actually
Googling everything? Because it's because of you. Callie Hart.
helpful.
Yes, Callie Hart taught you, and Katharine taught me Google every name. Why are you not
Google
Googling every
everything.
name?
Yeah.
And it has actually impacted books I've read where I'm like, that was a massive spoiler simply
Yes.
because now I looked up that person's name rather than just
Totally agree.
assuming it's just a name.
Just a
Names
name.
matter.
It
Totally
ain't just
agree.
a name.
Names matter.
See, me as an author, this is why I'm not an author. Or this is why I would need someone to write with me. I'd be like, oh, her name is Jessica. Why? Because Jessica. Like,
I like Jessica.
I like Jessica.
I like it. Malcolm tells Zaretht that Madra was terrified of alchemists and tried to kill them all off. But was Madra tasked with this, or did she want to prevent any alchemists from ever arising again or awakening the Quicksilver pool by killing all of them off? Why would she have been terrified of the alchemists if she was in league with Malcolm and Bellicon? And why would she assume that the alchemists would only arise in her realm? He makes a statement, and I'm like, it's a little preposterous.
I know. Well, I think part of it is the fact that right now as readers, we only know what alchemists could do specific to the Quicksilver. We know that there are 6 other elements that alchemists can potentially work with, right? And from what ZARETH said to Ceres, or was it ZARETH or was it someone else said? Oh, Malcolm.
It's Malcolm. He's
Yes,
about
when
to
he
say
was
it.
saying
Yes.
it.
Well, he
yeah.
says that those are Ceres's power, but remember, there's only 3 types of alchemists.
There are 3 types of alchemists, right? But he mentions that she has power over all 7. And so the fact that that's the case, I'm wondering if there are other elements that we don't know how that power manifests in an alchemist. And like you said, Lindsey, she's only one type of alchemist that we know of right now. She could be all 3, but what are the other alchemists in practice? We know them in theory, what that means, but like, what does that really mean? I don't know. And I wonder if that's something that we'll learn in the next books, and it will make us be like, oh, I get why Madra is freaking terrified of them.
We know that the elemental comment that he is making doesn't reference the alchemists 1 or 3, but he is truly implying that alchemists can control other elements besides metal. And I think like this is our first foray into, or at least it's my first realization that other elements can come into play.
Yes.
And that's why it's
Yes.
probably tattooed on her hands, right?
Right.
All of those different runes that mean all the other elements, essentially.
And she only knows that she can do this to the Quicksilver right now because that's all people have helped her to do. She's got no clue what she's going to be able to do with brimstone and salt and air and all these other things. So I think we're also going to see that journey in the next few books with Ceres. You're having a thought, a moment.
I have a moment.
Okay. Put it together.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I know Callie Hart has had only 5 books, right?
Yes.
Think about what Malcolm says.
Oh, Quicksilver, brimstone.
Earth, air, fire, water, salt, brimstone, Quicksilver.
Oh.
We started with Quicksilver. We're going to brimstone net. What if salt is the next book? Or what if some combination of these words are her future books?
That's
That
interesting.
just kind of,
I like it.
an anecdotal thought.
Yeah. So, and to me, like we're asking, as I was writing this outline, it was very like stream of consciousness. I feel like as I'm writing all these things, like, well, why did she do that? And what was the reason? And why was she scared? And why did she assume they would? Like it was very like rah, 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 in this moment. But the thing that I land on is going back, we've talked about it before, of Madra, like they were apart, the Triumvirate were apart for 1,000 years. And she still somehow was still on the same page with them about it's very odd to me. And so this moment kind of ties into that of like, I think that, and I don't know what the answer is, but I think that part of her fear had to do with her sticking to what the Triumvirate was believing in for whatever reason. Does that make sense?
Yes. I like that. Like
I like that.
If
I don't
an
know
alchemist
yet.
existed, then
Yes.
it could mess up their plans, and we need to just shut that down. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, but I
like
don't
it.
know why.
Yeah.
Right? I think that that was her connection to it, but I don't think we know enough yet to know why that was her connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
I can
it.
buy that.
Yeah, for sure.
For $5? How much? It's for sale.
5 galleons. We also get a quote from Malcolm that when I re-listened to this today, my eyebrows went all the way up. I was like, I don't know if I remembered that quote. It was a very talented alchemist who discovered the key to my blood gift. This is Malcolm speaking. She was remarkable in many ways, deeply disappointing in others. Perhaps I should keep you alive once this is all done. Okay, what is Malcolm's blood gift? Also, who is this alchemist? Are we going to learn who this alchemist is at any point? Because we've also talked about the fact that like time doesn't matter and time can stack up on itself. So that's like a weird Kelly question that I have. Do we know the alchemist? The other question is this why he wants ZARETH? Like something to do with this blood gift? Because remember, he said to Kingfisher, bring the alchemist. So
I think gift and curse are interchangeable. I think he's referring it to as a blood gift, but in reality, everybody else is calling it a blood curse. So to me, this isn't a bigger gift. This is the blood curse. It is a very talented alchemist who discovered the key to my blood curse.
Yes.
Oh, because he sees it as a positive thing because he didn't want to give it up. Okay.
Exactly.
But he still admired that alchemist for doing that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I need to know who this alchemist is. Like,
that's the good
Nicholas
point.
Flamel. Harry Potter reference number 1.
Well, no, we already paid 5 galleons for something, so that's number 2.
So Harry Potter reference number 2.
Number 2.
No, this is when we get that quote then. Then he flipped my hand over, running an ice cold finger over my marks, pointing at the runes on my index and middle fingers. He named them one at a time. Earth, air, fire, water, salt, brimstone, Quicksilver. That's the Staten Island version. The full gamut. Okay. He says more power than any alchemist I've ever encountered.
And he's old.
Like, he's ancient.
He's old.
Right? You are capable of restoring me to my power and a lot more besides. So that we think that means like restoring him because Carrion just like
that was my interpretation.
Okay.
Is that he has ingested the cure. He doesn't want to be cured. He wants to be a vampire again. But the curse is gone. Nobody knows how they were cursed. They don't know the cure to the curse. So he wants to use her to be essentially accursed again. Mm-hmm. That was my interpretation.
So
also,
Lindsey's crazy mind.
7.
Lindsey's crazy mind goes to, I wonder if she's capable of restoring him to his power because he lost his fae power in becoming a vampire. Which meant that potentially, now that ZARETH is a vampire, was she gifted with a fae power that she potentially lost in becoming that she could get back? Or now that she's half fae and half vampire, she gets to keep her fae power.
Well, she never lost it. She was never fae before, so she had no power to lose, in my opinion. She is now fae vampire.
Or do we have like
hidden.
It was
drop
hidden.
of blood type of thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm trying to think.
There were Easter eggs and we just didn't pick it up.
What am I thinking of?
But what was that quote? Don't you remember? No, Lindsey, you're right. Let's keep thinking these thoughts. Do you remember when she was in battle with
Yes. And time slows down.
Time slows down.
What was that?
With Renfis.
With Renfis, and it's like, what the fuck was that? And I made a point of saying, I think that could have been a nod to her fae power, right? Of time slowing down. So to your point, if that truly was her fae power, does she lose it? Does she keep it? Is she fae? Is she
I think she's going to get that and then some. I think that the fact that she is something that they've never seen before, that she's half and half, that she's mated to Kingfisher, who's super powerful, that she's the ward of ZARETH, the god of chaos and change. This bitch is powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yes, there's no stupid questions. But maybe it's a stupid question.
Are we ever going to learn why her? why is she so special? Like, is she just a drop in this entire universe?
Right.
Or is there something more behind? Like, does she have some unknown backstory that we probably don't even know yet? I mean, we got 4 books
Yes.
left, but it's like, why her? Why her?
I'm
I
actually
think we're gonna know.
okay with it not being anything bigger than that, because I think it would be like kind of show the power of their connection and the power of love if everything wasn't because she had a drop of fae or there wasn't a big story. It was literally just how powerful the two of them are together. I feel like I would be okay with that in the sense of their love story.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to find out a little bit more because we've talked a lot about, well, who is her father? We don't know anything about her father. I think that might come in at some point. And I know we've
Daughter of no one.
exactly. So, because he says sister to Hayden, daughter to no one. So, why no one? We're going to find out
I
about
don't
the
know.
father.
I feel like that's not important. I feel like that is him just kind of being an ass and being like, yeah,
Your
I'm
parents are
important and
dead.
you're not.
Right.
But
kind of
Zareth
thing.
said that to her, not Malcolm. Zareth said,
No, I
that
know.
quote.
I think that he's just, I'm
you
someone
think he's just being an asshole?
and you're not. Yeah.
Oh, you see, now when you say it that way, I hear it differently.
I feel like we're going to learn more about something going on with the mother because we've talked a lot in earlier episodes about what could she possibly have had going on. We know that she was harboring rebels. There's something else there, and I think we're eventually going to learn more. I think we don't have to learn more, and the story would still be fine. But I feel like there's so many details in there that it's got to mean something, and it's going to come back at some point.
Yeah.
But
I
that's
feel
just
like this.
a guess.
Yeah. Katharine before in previous episodes has brought up if she thinks that maybe dragons are going to return in Brimstone.
In Brimstone.
So, is Brimstone from dragons? Is it from hell? Is it like where does, because this I'm pretty sure is the first time we hear Brimstone in this book. So it's got to mean something, right? There's got to be a reason why Callie Hart put the word brimstone here versus anywhere else in the book.
And it's funny that you say it could have been, and you're right, it could have been the first time we hear it here. We hear it several times in those bonus chapters. And every time we hear it,
I think it's like
spewing
11.
Yes, from the dragon. They don't spew fire, they spew brimstone.
Yep.
And so, yeah, to your point, I definitely think brimstone has to have some correlation to dragons. And remember, dragons in this world are non-magical beings.
Yes.
So your point about hell, I could totally see that one too.
Yep. So I pulled a Katharine and
You
a
Googled?
Lindsey because I JFGI'd it.
I just did the same thing on my Kindle app on my
About
computer
Brimstone.
while we were talking. It's
oh,
the
okay.
only
So you got
time.
the book references.
Good.
I have
So
the
it is.
actual, what exactly is brimstone? According to my Google search, brimstone is an archaic term for sulfur, and it evokes the acrid odor of sulfur dioxide, which is stated to be given off by lightning strikes. The association of sulfur with divine retribution is common in the Bible. So
Yeah,
just
whenever
throwing
I
that
think
out
of
there.
brimstone, I think of the Bible. I think of like
Yep.
fire and brimstone.
Yep.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Revelation.
That's where we all go.
Yep. The end is coming.
Yep.
For sure.
But Malcolm also taps one of the runes on the back of Sarah's hand. There's an intricate interlocking rune on the back of her right hand. And he says, speaking of impressive marks, I haven't seen the likes of this before either. And this is that blue and green mark, the big rune on her hand. What are we thinking? Why is this one so special? Why did Malcolm immediately be like, huh, what is that?
I mean, it was the same thing that Kingfisher did. He's like, that one's odd. I'm not sure. Like, nobody knows what that one. I think it's just so special, right?
Yes.
I think it's the God mark. Because we've talked a lot about like what specifically which runes are her God markings and her God bindings and which ones are just regular tattoos. And I think that it's that. Or it is something that pertains to her having all of these elements. So she has this very special, intricate mark.
Like if it's her
Okay.
god, it's not like her mate god binding. It's more of her like see, she is not yet, but will be Zareth's champion. It's almost like a nod to what she will become, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Because
it.
Malcolm does notice her god marks and notices that Kingfisher has new marks. And he says that he can smell the fact that they're mated and the
Yes.
fact that Kingfisher has fed and bitten Saris. Like Malcolm can smell that,
Yeah.
which I'm assuming is part of Malcolm's power. But I still have that question in my mind of like what Malcolm's obsession is with Kingfisher, like why he calls him my love. I think it's really strange. And I think that this all kind of ties in there.
And I think, Lindsey, you were the one that pointed that out to me because I didn't get that on the first read. And when I was reading, I do a combo of the book, the physical book, and the Kindle. And I don't think I listened to this chapter until today. And when I listened to this conversation with Malcolm and when Malcolm is talking about Kingfisher, even the voice actor made it like I was like, oh, there is something weird about his relationship and his affection for Kingfisher. Is he in love with him? Is he connected to him in some way down the bloodline? Like, what is it? Because there was absolutely something else there in the way that the actor portrayed it. And I feel like that is absolutely on purpose because, or else why would you act it out that way? So I think you are spot on. I don't
Yeah.
understand it yet, but it was even acted out that way.
And my thing is like, will we ever learn? Like either Kingfisher, right, either Malcolm is gone and Kingfisher explains it to Saris,
Yeah.
or Malcolm is not gone. I know. Because, and I know we've talked about this before, but my big question with this ending is who is going to be the big bad moving forward? Like, we have multiple more books. I don't truly believe that it's Belicon or Madra.
No.
I think that they were pawns the whole time. So either we are getting a whole new big bad for the rest of the 4 remaining books, or Malcolm's coming back.
I am not sold on Malcolm being dead.
I know.
Really?
I'm still
You're
not
not?
sold on it. Mm-mm. I just, when I read it, and because Belicon made a point of saying you have to kill all 3 to kill the source. So either he's not dead and that was just too easy, or the source, whatever that source is that those 3 are feeding off of, that is the ultimate baddie or something like that. But I'm just like maybe you have to, kill all 3 of them to kill whatever the ultimate baddie is,
like
or
his
just simply
Horcruxes?
something.
Like,
Yes,
is the
like
source
that.
the 3 of them, or is the source
Right.
something behind the 3
The
of
source
them?
is something. My
I like that
interpretation of hearing it was there was something, the source that they are getting their magic, their power, their whatever from.
Yeah.
They're feeding off of it all together. You've killed one of them, but because Belicon makes a point of saying to kill the source, you have to kill all 3. So if Malcolm is truly dead, fine, but the source isn't.
Right.
And so that maybe that's the ultimate baddie. Because I agree with you, Lindsey. Like, that's the problem with this ending is, okay, well, he's just gone. Like, he was the baddie.
Yeah. I think that's actually a perfect connection, Catherine, that I hadn't made of. Yeah, even if he is gone, he did say there's a source. So are we going to meet the source? And I kind of do think he's gone only because we haven't gotten to it yet, but at the very, very end of the book, Taladeus met when Saris and Taladeus are talking. She's like, "Oh, you're free." He's like, "I don't know what I'm going to do with it." I feel like if he wasn't truly free, Taladeus would feel that. Like, there's something about the bond between a sire and their vampire that I'm making up in my head that to me seems like he would know if he was freed, feel free or not. And the fact that he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm free now." I don't know. I feel like to me that was the okay, he's definitely dead. I could be wrong, but that was what did it.
And
for
if
me.
there was a source behind the triumvirate, then Taladius wouldn't be free by Malcolm being dead. He would still be tied to something.
True.
Well, he's
And I'm
still
just now
tied,
coming to this.
but he's tied to a sire bond that had nothing to do with Belicon or Madra. You know, it was
No, but it
simply
might have had something to
because
do with the source. Like now that he's like, if there was still a bigger bad,
Yeah.
the source,
Is he tied to
then
that?
he would. But now he's free. He's not tied to that source anymore.
Maybe
Which
not.
See,
so
I
that
didn't take it
maybe
to
he's
like
still
that
vampire.
transitive
Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
you know, of
I
saying
know.
I didn't take it that far to that. I
Yeah.
just thought he was simply a vampire bound to his
Yeah,
master,
his sire.
Right.
his sire.
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards the source is the three of
The
them
baddie.
together. No,
Oh,
then
so you're
it's-
saying like it's gone because
They are
one
the
of them is
source.
gone, essentially.
yeah, but like you can't necessarily kill like that they are. I don't know what I think.
Like, what about if it is like
I don't know what's
Belicon's
happening.
showmanship, right? He was so showy as to assume
Right.
the three of them could never be defeated. And so maybe he just used his words in like that type of like almost just acting out a play
Right.
of we are the source, we are
Showing
the three of
off.
us, you cannot defeat us. So maybe his words did not have meaning in that regard.
Yeah.
Callie
I
Hart,
don't
who
know.
is the ultimate baddie,
It's
please
still
and thank
such
you.
a big question for me personally.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
But then Sarah's her badass self
Ugh.
stabs him in the throat.
And then Malcolm, his badass self, stabs her with his fist in her gut.
Literally punches through her body.
Through.
Whoops. Whoopsie.
When I read that,
Sorry.
I was like, oh,
Right?
that's a bad wound.
But then let's go into this quote because this is still Lindsey getting the massive Malcolm ick from Malcolm and Kingfisher. Quote, I love our Kingfisher the most when his heart is breaking. And this absolutely also enrages Sarah when he says our Kingfisher. But the scent of your blood was much stronger. Hello, Katharine, saying from the very beginning, it all comes down to blood in the end. Right? Oh,
It's so gross.
It's that like possessive hour that I felt like I got the same ick as
I
Sarah's
know.
got in that moment.
When she said that, I was like,
Why?
It gives me like familial, like we're family familiarity. And it takes me back to this very unhinged, very not like I have not put together all the points to prove my point theory of Malcolm potentially being somehow related. Like, is he one of the brothers that split and somehow they're related? Like, it's a weird, like, uncle love vibe if we're not going with like romantic
not
makes
love
it creeper.
vibe.
That makes it even worse.
It's
That's
weird.
not uncle.
Well,
Like my uncle would never say my Lindsey. You know?
Don't say that.
Right?
Again.
not in that way.
It's weird. And then we see even more power from Mama Edina, right? So Mama Edina had imbued his wolf Gorget. We've had an off-camera conversation about how to say this. Wolf Gorget with power, so Malcolm couldn't touch it or feed off of him. So, quote, he wore that silver plate at his throat every day since he was trapped here in this labyrinth, a gift from his mother, I believe. Pure silver imbued with some particularly nasty magic. I couldn't have torn it off of him if I'd tried. Edina was always such a thorn in my side. Okay, I have a lot of questions here, right?
A lot to unpack there.
A lot to unpack there in that, like, very short little clip. So, first of all, Edina has more magic other than just oracling.
She's not just an oracle.
She can imbue.
She's a witch. Is her sister a witch?
But
Sorry.
imbuing metal to me is alchemy.
Oh, it totally is. Oh, it totally is.
And let's not forget.
Can you drop the mic?
No, it's
Lindsey,
connected.
can you drop the mic?
It's
That was a
connected.
big point.
But let's also not forget that Papa was the one that he was like studying the blood curse, right?
Yeah, he had all the
Finneran.
books. He had all the
Finneran.
books.
What, guys?
Wait, connect it for me. Keep going. Keep talking. Keep
Okay,
talking.
so keep going, right? So Finneran is the one with all the books on the blood curse.
Okay.
Edina imbued the power so that, yes, okay,
I know where
thank you.
Lindsey's going.
Was Edina an alchemist?
It does.
Edina, the
alchemist.
The alchemist.
the one that cured Malcolm's curse. Always a thorn in my side.
Always. Why else? Like, what other connection?
Yes.
Beautiful.
And she had some things that were great and some things that were really terrible.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful because she's a witch. She's an oracle. She's an alchemist.
Wait a minute. We know that the Balkidder clan are half witches. What if she is part of the Balkidder clan and she is half witch with that clan?
Her sister was a witch.
Her sister was a witch. And that's why Isabel decided that she was going to come and help because and that's why Kingfisher had to go and help because his mother was half witch from the Balkidder clan, and that's what convinced her. Boom, bam, boom. I have no idea if this is real, but I'm very excited about it.
Boom, bam. The kind of shit we're on you wouldn't understand. Now, it could not mean that at all.
Right.
But wait.
Come on.
Yeah.
My mind, I need a moment.
Okay.
We need to slow things down. Because my mind is so blown. Yes.
Blown.
And we talked about what her name meant. That her name meant royalty. It meant this high station. So, oh, Lindsey, I love you so much. That was a beautiful theory. That was.
Oh.
Now, again, it could literally not mean anything.
No, it
Edina
has to.
could be.
I will
have
been
a. It could have been like Edina could have been a thorn in his side simply for the fact that she kept oracling things that he was going to do and it kept getting in the way of his plans. That could totally be it.
But that's not as exciting.
The fact that she has more magic and she imbued metal, I feel like that's massive, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, Lindsey, I need you to scribe this note for our next episode, our wrap up. We're going to talk about that one again.
Oh, that is big, you guys. Oh, so good. This is why I love the fact that we save it for the podcast because I have read this book / listened to this book 3 times now. And until we just talked about it as a trio, as banner and bookmarks just now, I did not make that connection. I am hyped. I'm hyped right now.
Do tend to hide Easter eggs for myself to remember things in the outlines so that you guys don't necessarily see them, but they remind me to say things like
You're
that.
so smart.
Mind officially blown.
And it's not necessarily the curse. Like he could have been cursed, but she could have been, along with Dad, been the ones that were helping find the cure to the curse, which is why he was
the only
thorn.
So were the Balkidder clan. Remember, Isabel says that our clan were the ones to help to find the cure.
She wouldn't be lying and stating and claiming her, even if she were Fae, if she was part of this Balkidder line herself.
Guys, this is my new unhinged theory. The only
thing I have to say is that they say that the cure was found in Kingfisher's great grandfather's time, which isn't incorrect, but this would imply it was more in even his mother's time.
True. Yeah.
So that's the only wrench I have in this.
But we
otherwise
don't know how long, do they wait
they
until
lives.
they're 15,000 years old
and it could have been
a child?
Incredible lives.
Exactly.
Right.
And he could have just been the one that first took it. So that's why they say it was his age, to say how long it was, to denote length of time and have meaning there. Because like you said, Fae have such long lives, just to show how long the cure was found ago. So yeah, I could get it.
I just need an unhinged theory to hold on to as strongly as you have held on to the fact that Elroy is Finneran. And I feel like this is my claim to fame now. And I'm going to hold on to it with everything I got.
Well, and let's not go back to the quote that we did earlier, it was a very talented alchemist who discovered the key to my blood gift. She was remarkable in many ways.
Yes.
It was a female. And so
duh.
even though, but think about it, even though it was quoted prior that it was Fisher's great grandfather, right? It is a female here.
Yeah.
So there are
also the
multiple
witches.
people. So there are multiple people in the equation that have to do with the blood curse and the blood cure.
Yes.
She.
Oh my God. All right. So let's go back. So we were started to talk about the gorget, right? Did we talk about the fact that we think that there are multiple other pieces yet? Or no?
Pieces of what?
We have not.
Okay.
Like, if she created this, could she have created other pieces? Like his relic. Like she created his relic necklace
she
for him.
She totally has created other stuff. Absolutely.
Alchemist.
Right. I cannot believe I have missed it until this point. I'm convinced. I'm sold.
An
orcling alchemist or an alcheming orcalist.
Yep.
I'm sorry, say that 5 times fast. What?
I agree. There are multiple pieces. I agree she's an Orclin alchemist. And I agree that she's also in the Balcaner witch clan. It's fine.
It's fine. I'm okay. We're good.
All right. And then, okay. What happens with Miss Saris? Saris stabs Malcolm in the neck. Why does Malcolm say, "You will help me heal"?
You will help me heal. Right? Do we think emphasis.
It's because, right? Is it because Malcolm believes she is also an alchemist number 3? So the Fae who sought to cure the illness and disease? You think so, Lindsay?
I do. I think it's clear that Saris has more power than we know of.
Yeah.
Right? I think she's going to become an all-powerful. She's got to be something special. So not only does she have all of the elements, but she potentially has all of the alchemy
types
as well. And so you will help me heal, as Malcolm saying, like, you have the power to.
And you care about this as that type of alchemist, potentially. I think
it's
that
a
theory.
Little bit with him of bravado too. Like, you will help me heal. Like, I think people have given him what he wants for a really long time, but he wouldn't ask it of her if he didn't believe that she had the power.
Right. I could see that.
Now, Saris is a very clever thief, right? She didn't intend to kill Malcolm with that strike. She just wanted to distract him long enough so that she could steal his pouch that he had put the coin into.
She's so clever.
Yes. Now, like, it was okay because even if he died in the process, that didn't matter. She just wanted the coin. She just wanted to end Kingfisher's suffering.
Even if she died, because I mean, she's got a gaping hole where his fist went through her stomach. I assume in this moment, she assumes she's going to die as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But even more clever little wench, she doesn't just take the baggie. She palms it. He sees her taking the baggie, takes it back, but she's palmed it.
Yeah.
Saucy little minx.
Yeah.
Right?
She knows.
She
What
knows.
she did.
And then she flips it in the air and it lands and it ends 110-year blood oath.
Yes.
On behalf of her mate Kingfisher.
And all of those thousands of Gilthry people are released and can pass finally.
Yep.
Okay. Ugh. I have a question for you too. Because the way he reacts to this, it's excessive to me. He's like, "Stupid little bitch, what have you done?" So, I mean, if we think about the crux of what she's done, she's ended their bet. She's released all of these souls, yes, which matter to us. Yes, he's lost his army, but did you guys get the impression that maybe he's talking about a little bit more? That maybe by her act alone, because he's I got the impression of how he was reacting to this was just, it seemed more than just simply the act of the bet is over, that maybe she has somehow triggered something else that we just don't know about, just based on his reaction
How
alone.
deep it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of think it goes back to like his hubris because
Yeah.
he's not really using them for his army. He's had them in a freaking stadium.
Exactly. But,
Right? Like,
but
it's not
that's
like
kind
he's
of the
using
point.
them. I
Yeah.
think it's hubris for me. I think it's just
Yeah.
him like having all of these, because how many people?
They said
People,
thousands,
hundreds
yeah.
I
of
thought it was
thousands.
hundreds of thousands.
I think
Yeah,
you're
I feel like
right.
it's hundreds of thousands. I think it's just hubris. Like, I think he's like, you took these like, he has so
were
many
mine.
legions and they were his, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't even know that he had a bigger plan for them.
The only other thing I will say is that he then goes, no, this isn't. He stops himself. He says, my children, you took them from me. And I get it. The hubris right there. But he's like, this isn't.
I feel
he
like
cuts himself off,
yes.
and I feel like he had something more
a plan
to
with them.
say.
Yes.
Yes.
I kind of feel like yes, they were just sitting there doing nothing. I think it is hubris. I think he is like, has to be showy and things like that. But I do think that he had an ultimate plan. I think he thought that he would end this thing with Kingfisher a lot quicker. And then he would be able to use these hundreds of thousands of people, feeders in his army in a very specific way. And I think that just messed up all of his plans. And so I think we're going to find out I don't know. Maybe we'll find out what his plans were, but I do think that he had an ultimate goal with them and that she just messed it up.
See, it's funny. I don't. I feel like that quote reinforces the fact that it was just hubris for him, because I think he's like, this isn't my children. They were to be my army. You took them away from me. I really think that in his mind, he thought that he would hold on to these hundreds of thousands of people forever. Like, I think that it was his pride saying, you would never be able to take away. This wasn't part of my bigger picture. But he had never gone into he was so wrapped up in his own BS that he had never gone into actually thinking what he could have done with them. I mean, think about it. If he had freed hundreds of thousands of people, they easily would have won that war 110 years ago,
That is
1,000
true.
years ago. Easily.
Right.
Yeah. He could have just
that amount
ended
of
it.
people
to do what he
would have
needed.
turned the tide, but he was so prideful that he didn't either bother to turn the tide, or B, think that he wouldn't eventually win it.
And I guess if you're an immortal vampire and time has no meaning, what do you care?
It doesn't matter.
He has nothing else going on for him
he wanted
anyway.
Kingfisher to suffer that much that it was worth it to him to not release those hundreds of thousands of feeders. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
What a dick.
I think we're going to continue to see pieces of Malcolm's plans play out in future books, even if he is gone. Like, I think that he had things in motion. He was clearly with people in these plans. And so I'm curious to see. I think we're going to continue to learn more, even if he is actually dead.
Like Bellicon and Madra's bad shit that they do in the next couple of books is not of their own accord, but just of the leftovers of Malcolm's plans.
Yeah, because we've said this. We don't think either of them are smart enough. Malcolm was evil, but he was also, I think, very smart. He was strategic. He was true evil mastermind to me when I think of Malcolm. Madra and Bellicon were just, like you've said, the pawns. So, yeah, I think so.
But this gives Sarah the opening she needs. She slices his head off. It bursts into blue flames. A blast of light shoots out of Solus. Angel's breath? That was my interpretation.
Yeah, I think so.
For sure.
Solus is now an active god sword. Or did it become active last episode when we talked about, which I still didn't like, when Solus did something, had a reaction when Kingfisher held it. But either way, I think this is true Angel's breath here.
Yes. And I think it's claiming of Sarah's.
Yeah.
specifically in this
Totally.
moment.
Like
Yeah.
the moment we get with Loreth. I think so
Yeah.
too. Mm-hmm.
Or is it the moment that, yes, it's a god sword, but let's think about the bigger picture of that. Is it the moment that the gods entered the race?
The chat.
The chat,
Oh,
right?
excellent.
Like we've talked a lot about the gods not taking part in the world, because is this the moment? Like, is a god sword assigned to a god? Is this the moment
Yeah.
that the god that is
The god,
inhabited,
that
I
god
guess,
sword.
by this god sword, is this a moment that they are now looking and saying, oh, I need to be here?
I also thought it was interesting. This is it's not reforged. It's like the original sword. So you're right.
Yeah.
To your point, it's like whatever god originally gave its magic to this sword is still that god.
I looked up because Katharine has now ruined my life and I have to Google every name.
JFGI.
Because at first it's like, oh, Solace to me sounds like the sun. Like, is it Balan Mithin?
Peace.
But no. Yeah. Give comfort
Solace is peace.
or consolation to. And I don't know why I didn't think about that. So I kind of, yeah. Ugh, I love that. Comfort or consolation in a time of distress or sadness.
And does that mean that we're only going to see a specific number of god swords? Like, I think in my mind before, god swords were just like powerful, infinite swords that there could be any number of. But is the spirit of a specific god coming back in that moment?
Like 1-to-1. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
That's actually a really good point, because I guess who really had god swords? Alchemists could have made plenty of relics for people, but maybe
Right,
god
but
swords
there's
were
a
something
difference.
more specific. And going on that thought, the Lupo. How many of them are there? 8 plus 1? 7 plus 1?
7
8
plus
total?
1.
8 total.
8 total. 7 gods, because Loreth didn't have a god sword at the time. So maybe
And
all
Morel
the god
died.
sword, and maybe all the god swords were used up. To your point, Lindsey, that if it's a god to each god sword, and maybe that's why you're special Lupo Pirelli. Just
Because
thoughts,
we now
just thoughts.
officially know of 3, right?
Yeah.
We have Nimrel, Asviasith, and Solace.
Avisia, yeah. Nimrel,
Aviciath.
and Solace. Yep. And Simon.
You're right.
I don't think Simon, we have not
You're
seen
right.
Angel's Breath from.
You're right.
Now, Quicksilver is imbued in Simon, but we have not seen Simon officially
Yes.
as a god sword.
You're correct. Yep.
Also, its name is Simon.
Okay.
Simon.
So then also, so what we're saying is there are swords that have Quicksilver that are fancy, but there are swords that are god sword. But I thought they said
I
that
feel
it
like we talked about this in the last episode too, that we weren't really sure. Like, does
I'm not
Quicksilver
sure.
mean that
I'm
it's a god
confused.
sword, or is it
I'm
something
confused.
bigger? I don't think
I
we
don't
know.
know.
I don't think there's any way to answer that
No.
question yet.
I think we can
right?
guess. I think people have theories, but I don't know that we know for sure.
But for sure, Solace has Angel's
Yes.
Breath. So Solace
that.
is a god sword, going
Yes.
back
And Loreth's is
to our
yes.
point here.
Yes.
Okay. So did anybody else find it a little too easy that Malcolm died here?
Yes.
Catherine,
That was my biggest
I
problem
feel like
with
definitely
the entire
did, right?
ending, was that she chops his head off and it's done.
And
All
it's
of the
done.
all of that talk, all of this that we've gone through, she chops his head off and I get it. It's a god sword. She did it with.
Yeah.
I get it. He has been injured by the Dianthus heir, potentially even cured. So he is more potentially killable in this moment. But it was just like such a big build up.
Yeah.
And then you cut his head off and we're just done.
Well, here's where I think your theory from 10 minutes ago comes in, of going back to the source.
Makes it sound so unimportant.
No,
10 minutes ago.
no, but like that blew my mind of like,
Yeah, yeah.
because I do
Yeah.
believe that Malcolm is actually gone, but you're right. Like all this stuff. And then she just cuts off his head and he's dead. Yes.
Now,
we
she
know
has
that's how
been
you kill
told
them.
several times that that's how to do it. So it does make sense in that sense of it, but it is
the
whole
easy.
thing of like, there's a source that
Yeah.
the triumvirate pulls from, that to me makes me feel like maybe Malcolm was we think he's the big bad, but he has a master that he's answering to.
He has a source.
He has a source. He has a source. And
A source.
yeah, a source. I get why you would be like, no, he's not really dead. I still think he's dead because I feel like Taladeus would be like, no, I can still feel something.
I still think that their bond could be broken. I mean, hello, zombies. Whatever he comes back at is something else entirely.
Oh my God,
I mean,
imagine Callie Hart is like, oh, and in book 2, zombies.
I mean, we got fae, we got dragons, we got vampires. Do we got to see werewolves? I want to see a werewolf.
Werewolves. We need some Gryverns. We need some sprites. We do have sprites. Anyway,
We have a drake, like a lizard.
Lizards.
So Kingfisher reaches out mind to mind and tells her that Maudra has fled and that Loreth and Carrion are dealing with Belicon. He also mentions that their swords are channeling again.
Channeling. So what does channeling mean then? Channeling
Angel's
to me
breath.
means angel's breath, and it's Carrion and Loreth. So now we're saying Carrion's sword
that's
is
true.
channeling angel's breath. So then there's the God sword conversation
I'd actually
again.
had not made that connection. You're right. So
and if you think about it, Carrion, the heir to the throne, would likely be worthy.
He gets
of
a sword.
You get a sword. If Loreth, not that Loreth isn't
So
great,
then
but
that's
if Loreth
4.
gets one.
That's the official count of 4. That makes Simon one of the 4.
Yep. I like that. I think we should keep it as the 4.
And then she passes out.
Done.
And wakes up to Taladius and Kingfisher hovering over her. And then this is an interesting conversation, right, about what's going on here. Like,
yes,
she notes that their connection is stronger than ever,
which I loved. I love that she got that feeling, because your point, Lindsay, you had a lot of problems with her not getting that oomph feeling. So I do like that she does get a call out now where she's accepted her mating bond, and she does feel it is stronger. So she got something. She didn't get the end all be all that you wanted, but she does feel it.
Yeah. And then Kingfisher says that he will give her part of his soul like he did with Loreth, right?
Yep.
She doesn't want that.
And he can't. Taladius is like, you've already given your soul to Loreth. There's nothing
too much
left.
of it.
Too much of it.
If
you do, you will die. Tal. Their nicknames for each other.
Fisher
they're
calling
buds.
him Tal when they're talking.
That's where I'm like,
my mind.
I was like, Tal, I'm sorry. We're on nickname territory where names matter.
They were connected before this. Like there is absolutely, one of you said this in an earlier episode. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. There was absolutely a relationship between the two of them.
They were
a
friends.
Friendship. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, think about it. They were in a maze for 110 years. Taladius, we already know, does not like Malcolm. Well, we don't already know. He tells us later on he doesn't like Malcolm. So presumably he would shoot the shit with Kingfisher and just basically like, I don't like him either. What do you want to talk about for 110
He didn't want to be
years?
around. He wanted to die. He didn't want to be this thing to Malcolm. Ugh. Yeah, I'm sold. At first I was like, oh, really? You saw Taladeus as a good guy? Yes.
The first time I saw him, I saw as a good guy. I was like, oh, hello. And then I saw this exchange and I was like, I like it. Sneaker good guy.
Sneaker good guy, Tal. So then there's really only one option. He's Kinturner.
Yep.
Right? So we find out some interesting lore here with vampirism and Malcolm and everything. So Taladeus was second in command to Malcolm in power, and it says he hid it from the king so he wouldn't kill him. He can turn you. Okay. And we think that king, because it's not capitalized, the king. So he hid it from the king so he wouldn't kill him. He can turn you. So if it was capitalized king, it would have been King Belicon. But the fact that it's uncapitalized, it's kind of intentionally left vague that the only king we are going to automatically think of as readers is Belicon. But the fact that it's just he hid it from the king so he wouldn't kill him, they're referring to Malcolm. So Taladius has some sort of power that Malcolm was not aware of.
I like that theory.
Taladius shouldn't be able to turn ZARETH because he is a created vampire, not a cursed vampire.
Okay.
So how is he able to create a new vampire himself when we previously thought that only cursed vampires could create vampires?
Okay.
And then further, you have to think that Belicon is the king of Evalia, but you have Sanisroth. And I think
He's
of
the
Malcolm
king.
being the king of that.
Yeah,
So
And he is
why-
because
He
Sarah
is.
is going to become
Yes.
the queen. Mhm.
So to my point, I'm like, Taladius would not care about Belicon. If he's second to
Right,
Malcolm,
he's not his ruler.
he's
Yeah.
so powerful. He would not care about Belicon. So the king he's referring to has to be Malcolm in this instance. He's
king.
keeping it from Malcolm.
Yeah.
How powerful he is.
I like
But
that.
it is
Okay.
so intentionally and interestingly left vague to me. Like,
And
it's
why?
almost
It's
like
weird.
Callie wants us to think Belicon, but in reality, we're talking about Malcolm. And maybe it's because the reveal of Sarah's becoming the queen,
Yeah.
maybe this is hiding the word king so that it makes her reveal as the queen bigger in a couple of chapters.
I could see that as why. It was like a red
Maybe.
herring just to keep
Yes.
you till the end.
Mhm.
But this also, because Fisher and Taladius right now are like, Fisher, you can't give her your soul. I can bite her. She can become vampire. So they don't know what it will fully mean to her, but they do know that they can turn her to vampire. Whatever vampire means to her is vampire. It's not mindless feeder. It is vampire of some sort. So they're fully on board with turning her into vampire. So, but you have to think Kingfisher is close enough to Taladius that Taladius hid this from Malcolm. Fisher knows about it.
Kingfisher knows.
Kingfisher
That's
knows. That's how
true.
close they are.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
I didn't think
before.
about that either.
Yeah. Like they are.
Are they in cahoots?
Because they're having like a sneaky, like they're having a conversation that you would have with a best friend of like, I know exactly
Tal.
what you're talking about. Hey, Tal.
Tal.
Yeah.
They're in cahoots, you guys.
Are they the second triumvirate? Who's the third?
Sarah's.
I do. Yeah. I do like that though. I would like that twist, and I would love for Taladius to like come back in book 2 as, like you said, the sneaky good guy.
In my head, he is
I'm
this
feeling
beautiful
that. Me
mashup
too.
of Draco Malfoy all grown up and Spike from Buffy. That's
I support that.
Taladius in my brain.
I fully support that.
I like that.
Witty and Draco.
And
fully support that.
masculine.
So then Zareth consents. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
So in the next chapter, she says, whatever the cost would be for saving him, I would pay it. So I feel like Fisher, as her mate, knew that she would consent. And so even though he is consenting for her, it is almost like they are so connected that he knows that's the decision that she would have made, right?
I agree with that assertion.
Okay.
I do know at the very, very end, I feel like she doesn't reassure him at the end. The author leaves it vague. You can tell he's fishing to get her approval that, yes, I did consent. I was unconscious, but yes, I did consent. You made the right choice. He wants her to reassure him that he did it right, even though he is her mate. And yes, I agree with you, Lindsey, that he would know that's what she wanted. He still wants this almost like verbal confirmation to absolve him of this any lingering guilt he does. I did get annoyed with her for not doing that. I mean, I get the point that, I became queen. There's a lot of things on the to-do list, but I really wish she had given her mate that reassurance immediately. But I still, regardless, think that she consents. And even if she didn't, honestly, girl, you chose the same thing at the end, so you can't get mad.
And they made a point, I think Callie made a point in the language that she chose in that scene when she's laying wherever she's laying and Taladius and Kingfisher are there, that she says, if you were to do that, which is give me a part of your soul, and that would then kill you, I would not be happy with you. I would reject our bond in this life and the next. The fact that this thing that Taladius could do to her would not kill Kingfisher is, to me, the go ahead of like, she's saying, no. You're not doing anything that's going to hurt Kingfisher. oh, this thing doesn't hurt Kingfisher, so I'm sure that you would consent. That to me was like that wordplay that's like, oh, she's fine with this. She just didn't want me to die. And that was what she was concerned about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure.
And honestly, if you're on, like, you are about to die, your loved ones make decisions sometimes. And if she ever got mad at him for that, I mean, that is your mate making a decision that he thought was right at the time when you literally passed out and were taken by a god to another little realm to have a little chat, and he didn't know what was going on. You're going to have to forgive him. And if she has innate lingering resentment,
I doubt
I'm gonna have a conversation with her.
I feel like it's kind of a moot point because I don't think she's gonna.
You think it is? You think she's just, it's fine?
I think she's
fine.
done. I think that little bit that we get in these final chapters is her being like, I've accepted this. He did the right thing, and I'm not mad at him about it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So before we get there, let's get there, right? So chapter 44, it makes sense. Just go with it.
I got it.
Kingfisher forms a shadow gate, brings Sareth back to Kalish, and the Quicksilver starts to speak to her, and she says that the voice is very clear, very calm, focused, direct. And I feel like this whole like page or 2 pages, we could just read verbatim. Because from the conversation she's having with the Quicksilver, because
So
there's
let's do it.
so much in here.
Let's
I
quote
feel like they're Easter
and
eggs.
let's interject.
I'll be the Quicksilver. Katharine, you be Sareth.
Ooh.
Okay. The mountain that weathers all storms. He is the storm. You are the peace that comes after it. Tell me, do you believe in the fates, alchemist? Do not drift too far from the shore, Sarah's Fane. Come back now, come back. So then, Kelly, you do the parentheses.
Then adrenaline soaks her blood. Her pulse careens away for her. And an electric current charging through her chest. Taladeus says that the transformation is now starting.
You stand before a door. Your hand is poised to knock. Are you ready to walk through it? Will you leave this place and see what lies beyond in the next?
Leave? No, I don't want to go. Not yet.
A shadow falls across Avelia. It will alter all it touches. You would rather remain here, knowing that suffering and hardship looms on the horizon, that sacrifices will need to be made?
Yes.
As you wish. Then we call in our favor, Sarah's Fane. Will you honor your word and grant us our favor?
What is it you want from me?
We require an audience with you, Sarah's Fane. Will you grant us our favor?
Yes, I'll grant it.
Then she feels the cord that drew her to the pool earlier snap taut. Kingfisher tries to keep a hold of her, but he can't, and she is dragged through the labyrinth by an invisible rope and into the Quicksilver pool. You guys.
End scene.
That was beautiful.
I mean, and then she wakes up on a grassy hill.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 women there. Quote, they looked 18, perhaps 19, and they were identical in every way, dressed in loose gray dresses. They wore nothing on their feet. Their black hair flowed in waves down to their waists. 2 pairs of quick, royal blue eyes, shot through with silver threads, watched me with keen interest as I got to my feet.
They have Quicksilver in their eyes.
Yup. Just like
Kingfisher. And I love the wording of like 2 pairs of quick royal blue eyes. Like obviously quick eyes means like sharp, but the fact that it's the word quick.
Yeah. Yep.
Love it.
That was
perfect.
That was
absolutely love it.
Perfection. Also, this is one of my favorite parts of listening to this again was the fact that like we've been talking about this for so long are the voices of the Quicksilver the gods? It literally says, okay, we're going to call in our favor. We require an audience of you. And then she's with the gods. So clearly it was the gods.
Well,
it was ZARETH.
It was ZARETH the whole time. So Lindsey, check +1, $10. You win. You are correct. 10 galleons.
That would be number 3.
I think that's number 4, actually.
Yeah.
At least.
I think we lost count.
So I love it. I think it's so funny that Bal and Mythen like ask what it's like to have sex with Kingfisher. It means they've been watching them the whole time.
Yeah.
Like they're so invested. It's like Saris and Kingfisher have been Bal and Mythen's little like soap opera.
Oh,
that
yes.
they've been watching.
They're just scrolling through the channels, fast forwarding as need be.
Ooh.
What's happening here with Kingfisher? That's hilarious.
So, quote, amid the roots of a giant oak tree, a broad 8-foot wide ribbon of silver formed a moat. So much quicksilver. I started when I noticed beads of the shining metal spilling down the tree's broad trunk like sap and rolling into the moat. Well, that's a lot of quicksilver.
A source, yeah.
Are we
A
assuming?
source.
Interesting wordplay there.
Okay.
Interesting word choice, Kelly.
I didn't do
Right?
it on purpose, but yeah.
So she immediately knows that the man sitting there is ZARETH.
Yep.
Right? Well, she's seen his statue before. She's seen his likeness before. So it must have been a really good statue.
Or she got an uts right here.
Yeah, true.
A
Just
pitter
a
patter
feeling.
that's
I
there.
like an uts.
An
I like
uts.
it. Quote, I angled my jaw and met his cool blue eyes. I had expected some terrible visage, a hideous twisted face with madness in its gaze. But no, if he'd been human, I would have judged him in his middle years. His face was lightly lined and had a kindness and wisdom that took me by surprise. Kindness and wisdom? That does not sound like ZARETH to me.
No, right. Not how they've
He's
depicted
like a
him.
trickster,
I know.
right?
And think about the madness of the Quicksilver to this point. He's so mellow. And I feel like meeting the Quicksilver god, he would be more chaotic.
Well, okay, let's dive down that. Wait, he doesn't have Quicksilver in his eyes, and
Yes.
Val and Mythen do. So maybe we haven't been talking to ZARETH. Maybe we've been talking to Bal and Mythen.
What do you mean?
I think we've been
Are
talking to
Bal
all
and
three of
Mythen-
them.
But are Bal and Mythen the ones that are like playing, like they're these
Give us a joke.
chaotic
Give us a this.
daughters,
Give us a song.
us, plural? Maybe they've been like interfering.
I could totally see that because in my head, the weirdest thing in reading this chapter was I was left with, that's ZARETH. He's not very chaotic. But now that you bring up this point, I'm like, that the Quicksilver this whole time absolutely sounds like Val and Mythen, who are just giggling about absurdities.
They're like messing with daddy's shit.
Yes, because remember we talked about in another episode how we're like, wait a minute, why is the Quicksilver have like two different personalities? Like you say you want one thing and then all of a sudden you want something else. Is it that ZARETH is saying one thing and then Bal and Mythen are like, no, we want this. Like, is it really that? And in the Audible, it's male and female voices. And that's, I feel like, on purpose.
But no. It still could be male and female because remember when she first comes here, the voice, she knows I was, at least when the favor was asked of her, she was speaking
Male.
to ZARETH.
Yep.
So so it's not to say that the Quicksilver she's been interacting with can't also be male. ZARETH can still be interacting via the Quicksilver.
Oh, yeah,
But
that's
the
what I'm saying.
absurdity of it,
Yeah.
the weirdness
twins.
of it is definitely the
Yes,
twins.
I agree. I completely agree. We're on the same page. I totally agree. These little minxes.
Like that more than the other gods really being involved because they've kind of buggered
They're
off
not
at
here.
this point.
Right. Why are they involved?
So is the Quicksilver could absolutely be the other gods were they present.
Yes.
But ZARETH has said they've basically gone away from wherever they can go that is not involved this giant oak tree.
Yes.
But she does say his was the voice that had asked me if I wanted to pass through the door or stay in
Yes.
Avelia with Fisher. I had a feeling it was his voice I had been speaking to for a long time now.
Yeah.
So before we have thought before of like asked the question of like, is it multiple gods? Maybe that's our answer is like Bal and Mythen versus ZARETH. I really am convinced that we will see the rest of the gods come into play by
Definitely.
the end of the series, for
Mhm.
sure. Right?
Agreed. Totally.
But
Okay,
I
someone
think,
else take that
but I
quote.
think your point of saying, like, I had been speaking to him all along, him and the insanity is probably Baal and Mithrin, makes a lot more sense because the other gods are just not present to also speak through the Quicksilver at this point. They've
Mhm.
gone wherever they are. But
Yeah.
I agree with your point, Lindsey, that yes, we will see those gods later on. They will come back. They can't apparently influence things, but I guess they can influence other people and still make mischief.
Right.
Yep. So we get this quote from Zareth. Zareth, god of chaos, he grunted, and you are Ceres, sister to Hayden, daughter to no one. He nodded to the inkwork on my hands, also mate to my champion. This is the first we're hearing of this title, his champion. What does this mean? Daughter to no one. Hello. Tell us more. Think your thoughts out loud here, Zareth. And I did think it was definitely interesting that he called out Hayden's name, right? So he clearly has been keeping an eye on him for some reason.
But I think that this actually, quote, we need to save and not discuss until our episode about the bonus chapters,
Okay.
because the champion thing is mentioned here, but we don't really know what that means until bonus chapters. So everybody tune into that episode.
Yes.
We will talk
so
about
next
this
episode, we'll do that. That sounds great.
Oh, God, because that quote will have even more meaning because
then. Yes.
So many things.
of who else is also happening in the same
Stop it.
scene.
Catherine,
I'm sorry.
Save it for the bonus.
Save it. I'm so excited.
Okay, so big quote here. This is kind of a long one from Zareth, but extremely important, I feel like, for the rest of the series. I've spent a great deal of time watching the threads of the universe, waiting for one such as you, an alchemist, at last, to reset the balance and clear the way for what is to come. Turning, he went to the edge of the quicksilver pool that surrounded the great tree, and I followed, drawn along by the pull of him. He stopped at the very edge of the quicksilver and looked at me. Here we stand at the edge of the universe. The roots you see growing down into the earth, into the quicksilver, are the anchors of fate. He tipped his head back, his eyes traveling upward into the boughs of the tree. The silver leaves above mark all the realms of our domain. My family are the stewards of all you see here. We water the roots of fate. We train the boughs and prune the leaves to prevent rot and decay. You see the bough here, the blackened one?
Rot
As I watched,
and decay.
I know. As I watched, 3 of the bough's leaves dislodged and fell. They floated down, fluttering and spinning, to land on the surface of the quicksilver. There is rot spreading throughout my domain, Ceres, he said. Realms that are infected with that rot have to be summarily destroyed to protect the rest of the tree and prevent that rot from spreading. Do you understand?
This was the thing I've been teasing you guys. Last episode, I had been looking through the outline of this, and I saw that rot and decay line and immediately thought Carrion, because we've been looking for the bad guy, the big baddie, the sleeper baddie potentially. And when it said there's rot and decay spreading in my realm, Carrion, his name. Rot and decay.
Which that would mean that you think that Carrion is bad?
I'm just throwing it out there. It would utterly break my heart.
Based on facts alone.
I would honestly follow him to the ends of the world and we can
She's
rot
like, I'm
and
a
decay
villain.
the whole tree together.
I'm a villain
ready
with
to
you,
be
buddy.
the villain with him. But yes,
I'll
when
be
I
the
read
villain
this,
for
I
you.
was, but honestly, Carrion is one of my most favorite characters, period. He's extremely complex. He's hilarious. The idea of him also being a sleeper baddie makes him even more of an awesome character to me.
Unless, is the rot and decay what the universe need? Like, let's flip that on its head.
That's what the
Let's
siblings
cast-
argue.
Like, let's cast the gods as the bad guy.
Yeah.
and Carrion as the good guy. In that sense, like the universe needs this rot and decay to like, you think about it, the
Rid
gods
itself.
left because so many people were doing bad and not treating each other and they'd basically given up. So maybe the rot and decay in there is actually weeding out those bad. And
Yeah.
so that would force Carrion to be the good guy so that the gods can return. Or maybe do I just really want Carrion to be
I
good?
love how
that.
you turn that one
I
to
really
make
just
it
want
work.
Carrion to be good.
Seriously prefer that.
But his
Ugh.
word choice, regardless.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rot and decay, there's so much more here. I feel like Carrion himself is going to come into play here because names have meaning, and what he just kept going on. Rot and decay. Rot is spreading. Do you understand?
Right.
He's like trying to like make her Jedi mind trick her into understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. Read between the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's a big
Sarah's
one.
is like, so you're basically saying that with like a flick of his hand, he just destroyed billions.
Billions of people.
Billions of people.
Yep.
But then he goes on, you aren't the only alchemist in the universe, of course. There are millions of you out there, even in your realm, even in the city you once called home. There are hundreds of elemental magic wielders who can command the Quicksilver. But when I consulted the fates long ago, I was very intrigued when I saw you, Sarasphane. Not just you, Kingfisher, too. I saw an axis in the flow of things, a burning knot in the tapestry of all that would come to be. When I focused and saw the strength of the bond that connected the two of you together, I admit I was tempted to sway the fates.
So elemental magic wielders,
hundreds of them.
Hundreds of them in
But not-
Zilvarin.
but not metal wielders. Elemental. He's teasing that there's other
Yes.
elements other than
Brimstone,
metal,
fire,
fire,
the
that's
elements.
that whole list.
all of
But
it.
he did say
Yes.
that they can command the Quicksilver. So all this time, the Quicksilver could have been commanded, but Saris was the one to do it.
Or think about it this way. I've been complaining this whole book. They don't write shit down. The Fae assumed only metal wielders could command the Quicksilver. They ignored all the other elements. They've ignored all these other people who are alchemists who could command the Quicksilver as well through their own ignorance. And also, there hasn't been an alchemist in 1,000 years, so they don't even remember what all alchemists can do. And so he's teasing us to, there's way more to alchemy than commanding the Quicksilver because you can control the metal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we also get from ZARETH here the confirmation of the fact that Edina's Orkling was correct. So he says, you were supposed to have been born Fae in the same realm as your Kingfisher, so I separated you. Hundreds of years before you were born, I shifted the events around your birth, moved the pieces on the board, and placed you far away in a realm that should never have come into contact with his. But I watched as the bows of the universe grew against their nature and aligned in such a way that you would still meet. I foresaw then that no matter how the boughs and branches of this tree were manipulated, you and he would always collide. There was nothing I could do to stop it. First of all, that's like the most beautiful love story.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God.
I love that imagery of like a tree that wasn't meant to grow together, but just kept growing together no matter what anybody did.
So strong. I love that.
I love it. You guys are trapped on, oh, that's such a beautiful image. I love the love story. And I'm over here thinking, hundreds of years before she was born, how could you have manipulated the time hundreds of years before she was born to move her out of a realm when the Quicksilver has frozen the gates for 1,000 years? That's all I'm noodling.
Yeah. Oh, I just see it as like he goes back in time far enough to know what is the first event that he needs to change to make sure it doesn't happen. That's how I see it.
Totally true. I just think it's funny. That's where my mind is. And you guys are like, this is a beautiful love story.
It could have been 1500s. You know what I mean? Like
1500s.
Like, what is his concept of time? Like hundreds of years could have been 2000s or 3000s. He wouldn't have let his daughters have sex in 1 billion years.
In an eon.
Eon.
Okay.
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 Billions. Billions.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, I
Doris.
think his contract of time is maybe
Yeah.
a little bit off.
Yep.
But it's still true. Like, he did everything that he possibly could to keep them
Keep them
apart.
apart.
Yes.
Yep.
And no matter what he did, as a god.
Yep.
So it is interesting too, because he says that he wanted to tempt the fates. So not only do we have the gods, but potentially we might have characters that are the fates.
Said this before. I hope they share one eyeball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree, Lindsay. I think we're going to meet them.
So is the rot in the tree vampirism? Maybe it's not carrion. Maybe it is vampirism. Think about undead.
But that would imply that vampirism has infected other realms too. It's not
Maybe.
just localized then, because he says the whole tree is rotting and every
It's spreading.
leaf
Yeah.
on the tree is one realm. So if it's spreading, it would be vampirism in multiple realms.
It could be.
Which would mean that ZARETH, as our glorious female main character who has all of this power, is that her ultimate purpose is to cure vampirism altogether and stop the rot of the universe. Undead, vampire, leaves falling off trees.
The Fey magic pulls from life, and they can't. There's no life where they are.
Tricky.
Maybe it's going to be ZARETH against Carrion.
Oh.
Two characters we
No.
love.
No.
No.
No. Oh.
No.
We say nope.
And
I like
to
it.
bring up like that callback that Kelly just said, continue. In nature, there is counterweight to everything, child. Light has darkness, life has death. So she was talking about how there's no magic in Sanisroth, right? Because they can't pull their magic from where there is no life. Joy has sorrow and good has evil. That law applies no matter which realm you exist in. Threads like you and Kingfisher that are drawn together and cross on an axis create a well of power. The energy the two of you draw together attracts an equal and opposite counterweight. Every possible future where the two of you are together ends with the vast majority of this tree dying.
Insane.
None of us can foresee any other way. So you're saying that Kingfisher and I were responsible for the end of the entire universe? Not you personally,
Right?
but the moment where you met, along with the moment you became mates, is a spark, the flame in the dark that draws the moth. It is incumbent upon me to try and stop that spark from taking place, but as you've already learned, the fates themselves would not be guided down that path.
So, Lindsay, you bring up an interesting point a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
The gods are the stewards of this tree. And you were saying, let's paint them in the bad light, right? Their only purpose is this tree. But who is to say their purpose of this tree is the ultimate good, right? Keeping this tree alive, their purpose. Who is to say, which I think is what you were implying, that is the necessary end.
Right.
Yeah, like I think it's more, I don't know that they're good or bad. They're more like indignant.
Yeah.
Right? Like
They just are.
when you are looking at things from such a higher picture, you're not necessarily looking into the detail and minutia of a thing. And I think that is maybe what the gods are doing right now. They're looking at either tree is rotted or it's not. They're not necessarily looking at why that rot is happening. They're just going to cut it off, right?
Or
Maybe
if it should.
Or if it should.
Like if they haven't like looked beyond their own purpose.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's kind of what I take from this is maybe not that they're necessarily good or bad, but they're so far removed from humanity that they're almost not even able to make a decision about what is truly good or bad in this moment. Like they see ZARETH and Kingfisher as this axis that is creating whatever fate is going to happen down the road. but they're not necessarily going, wait, maybe this is what needs to happen, right? Like
Yeah.
he's seeing the chaos of it, but not actually the minutia of what that chaos could create for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever exists in all those other realms.
Holy
Right.
crap.
Who
Holy
knows?
crap.
Like he's so far removed from it in that moment.
Yes. So ZARETH here also admits that he brought Kingfisher to him when he was young. We assume that this is the moment that Kingfisher went into the Quicksilver without a relic. It says right after his mother died. And he was brought there multiple times. We know that from the bonus chapters. And as of the bonus chapters, Fisher had refused ZARETH's request to be his champion. So he wasn't his champion at that point. So there must have been a separate meeting where he agreed to this after the Ashen Gate battle. So let's keep that in mind too, especially when we talk in our next episode about the bonus chapters. He also says, I orchestrated events so that he would be brought here as a young male. His mother had just died, and he would have been a couple 100 years old then because Everlane was born when their mother died. And his disposition wasn't very polite. I loved that sentence. Like, he was kind of a jerk to everybody.
So is that because he had already gone through the Quicksilver when he was 10-ish? So by the time he went back that second time after their mom died, I mean, he would have lived a couple 100 years with the Quicksilver in him, right?
I agree with you, Lindsey.
Yeah.
I'm very confused
Right.
about this whole timeline.
Yes. I don't know if it
I
can
don't
even
have
be a
an answer
timeline
to you.
anymore.
To be
right?
determined.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think it's
Okay.
something to note for the future.
Okay.
So ZARETH says that Kingfisher made an enemy of his family. I'm assuming that this means all of the 7 gods that we know of in this story. And he was only allowed to live because ZARETH himself demanded it. So let's discuss who, right? So do we think it's all of the other gods? Like I just said, was it just Bal and Mithin? Who else could it have been that he created an enemy with?
And is that why Kingfisher lives with the Quicksilver in his eye? That ZARETH was basically like, I will keep you alive with the Quicksilver. And maybe this bargain, when he became his champion, was, I think I've speculated over several episodes that it's basically been like, it had something to do with his mate. It had something to do with making a bargain to how all of this could end with him. He's lived with the Quicksilver, refusing any bargain of ZARETH. After Ashen Gate, he becomes his champion. I feel like Kingfisher knows his fate. He knows what's going to happen. He knows his mate is coming. Maybe his mate is the one that ultimately cures it. Lindsey, talk. You're antsy.
You have something to say?
Is ZARETH using the Quicksilver to control Bal, Mithin, Kingfisher? Like,
Yeah.
is that what the Quicksilver is? Is his
I kind of got
control?
that impression, right?
Oh.
Like it's his children and he's really controlling his daughters that way. He's controlling him. I kind of got that. And that was where I was like, he basically got his hooks into Kingfisher until he agreed with whatever bargain. And that's why he describes him, right, as he wasn't very polite because he's not just agreeing with him. And then eventually strikes whatever bargain. We're speculating on whatever that bargain is to be his champion. But yeah, I do think that ZARETH doesn't have the Quicksilver in his eyes, and he's controlling them that way.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to mind.
So then even more quotes from ZARETH, right? This whole chapter. Let's just read the whole thing.
Quotable.
Right?
Yep.
I'd spent a great deal of time studying the various outcomes and paths of this universe once you and Kingfisher met. And while I never found a balance that met good prevailed, there were pathways that led into uncertainty, pathways that led down roads where both the way and the destination were blocked to even my sight. In all of these veiled futures, where a chance still exists for life, there is one common factor. You and Kingfisher fought at each other's sides, and you were God-bound. He pointed to the script writing that wrapped around my wrists. So there's our answer. That is the God binding, is the one around the wrist. These oaths mark you as my ward. They protect both you and Fisher from the unwanted attentions of my brothers and sister. Hold on.
Oh.
Singular sister?
Lindsey, got a question for you. Can you please go back to your gods things and tell
Yes, I
us,
will.
did any of those names of those gods scream female other than Bal and Mithin, his daughters, so that we can figure out which one of those is the sisters?
I
Is the
think
sister.
we're actually told. We're right. There's only one goddess. That's correct. So Styx, the god of shadows, Curran, god of secrets, Nisinai, goddess of masks, Malleus, god of dawn, Bal and Mithin, the twin sisters, and then Zareth, god of chaos and change. So there is only one goddess other than Bal and Mithin, Nisinai, goddess of masks, which I still question. Those are weird.
Yeah,
God
was
and
that going to
Aren't they the
mean?
goddesses.
weirdest things to be gods and goddesses?
They're very strange. But yes, brothers and sister.
We also get a quote here from Zareth. Quote, they, talking about his brothers and sister, they would rather kill Kingfisher and roll the dice on what comes next. They would prefer to weather the storm on the horizon and replant our tree once the slate has been wiped clean. I don't want that to happen. It would break my daughter's hearts. He broke off, right? Well, yeah. He's very devoted to them, which I kind of love, but I also kind of feel like that's probably why the universe is in so much chaos. Like they're kind of chaotic and childish, and I don't know. I kind of feel like they're a big part of the chaos. Like, yes, he's the god of chaos, but they're not making it easier for him, right? So he broke off, watching the girls dance down in the field, mimicking the grasses as they swayed in the wind. I love this too because it's fun, it's playful, it's very like it's very immature.
Flower child?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like what kids do.
Like you guys
Hippy
are supposed to
dippy.
be gods of the sun and the moon. Like you should be doing something with your
Right.
life, not
and
just
they're
like swaying
dancing
in the
with
grass.
the grass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not just speculating what it's like to
Yes.
have sex with Kingfisher.
Right. They have not a care in the world, truly. He says, for them, I'm willing to take a chance. If you truly accept Fisher as your mate, then you must agree for the thread of your life to be severed from the tapestry of the universe. Once you do, none of us may affect your future. We won't be able to see you at all, nor will my brothers and sister be able to interfere with the timelines or events that affect you either. You will be on your own. I kind of love this because what has been the thing that Sarah has harped on this entire book, her free will. She does not want anyone to tell her what to do. She has said literally F the fates. She has told Kingfisher, do not force me to do anything under this oath. And Zareth is literally giving her the chance to say, you are on your own, like good or bad. You can make all the decisions and no one's going to be able to interfere, which is kind of poetic.
It is, but at the same time, I feel like it puts a lot of pressure on Saris.
100%.
Like how she is cut from the tapestry
I know.
of the universe
The
and
heck does that
forced
mean?
to make all of these decisions like on behalf of the universe based on her mating with Kingfisher.
But he
That's a
does
lot of
reassure
pressure.
her.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is live your life. He reassures her. He's saying that you're not meant to be
I
like
don't
this
believe
battle.
him. But I don't
Oh.
So you're just
believe
like, no, I
him.
don't believe you.
I think it's chaos. I think
He's
he's saying,
manipulation.
oh yeah, don't worry about what you do. It won't matter. But in reality, this bitch is now a half fae, half vampire that's never been seen before. She's the queen of an entire race of beings, and you're telling me what she does doesn't matter? I don't believe him.
No, he didn't say it doesn't matter. He's saying live your life. He's saying you're not meant to take on the charge of saving the universe. Because that's
None
what
of
she's
us-
afraid of.
I don't know. None of us may affect your future. We won't be able to see you at all.
Yeah.
And we won't be able, you'll be on your own. Like that
Yeah.
to me says like we no longer, like, we've been trying to like interfere with your life for hundreds of years, and now we're stepping away from it. I feel like that puts massive pressure on her.
But at the end of the day, she agrees with it. She's like, yeah, well, fuck them because it's my life. I choose what it
Yeah.
is. So I hear
It
your
is what she's
point and
always
what you're
wanted.
saying, but it is truly what she wants. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. She
Yeah.
wants that.
Yeah.
She's
does.
ready.
I also
But in
think
this
it's a little
moment,
bit
is she really
short-sighted, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like in this moment, is she really understanding what that
Right.
fully means?
Yeah.
I mean, you got
she's
a
just a
God
human.
agreeing with you.
The god of chaos.
The god of chaos.
And
Still
at
a
24
god.
years old, like, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I agree with both of you. Like, she has always wanted this. She has been asking for this from the beginning. The gods are literally granting it to her. And at the same time, it's like, girl, you're only 24 years old. You've been a human your whole life. Now you're in a new realm. You're a half fae, half vampire. It's never been seen before. And you're like, yeah, sure, I could do this on my own. Bye. Like, come on.
I guess why I
But
struggle is that's not my interpretation of it, really. It's more just like you, Kelly, go live whatever life you want. Basically, I cannot control you. I, a deity, why
Yeah.
should I have any right to control your actions whatsoever? Choose to take you from being born fae to being born human. I'm taking away that
All of that
choice, all of that,
manipulation, yeah.
so that you decide. It's not saying go take on the universe, go save this tree from all the rot. It's saying live your life.
I know, I agree. I don't think he's telling her, no, it's up to you. I think he actually says, like, no, it's not your decision, or like nothing that you can do is going to save it or not. It's just like
there are options.
But it
can't
is.
tell.
But it is. Why would she be our FMC of 5 books if her fate was not to do something big?
Yeah.
But just because, I guess what I'm saying is that there's simply uncertainty. And yes, I hear your comment that she's the FMC, so obviously she's going to do something big. But I guess at this
They're
point,
going to fight in a battle together.
Her decision what big she wants to do. It's up to her
Right.
now to determine her life. Whether she could literally say, I'm going to live my life and let the world, universe burn. But it's her decision.
So the continuation is, if I did this, then ZARETH and the other gods wouldn't be able to see ahead or do anything to affect events as they were about to happen. But should they be allied to do that anyways? What gave them the right? Fuck the fates. They don't get to decide shit for me. I decide what my future is going to be. Did I not just say that mere days ago? And then she continues, I got the feeling that ZARETH was desperate, a god who would say anything to bend me to his will. But there was no denying it. He was a god. So why is he desperate?
He really cares about that tree.
Like, he's giving her a choice, but he's giving her free will to decide her own fate.
So the way that I'm seeing it is that he's giving her a choice to go back because he wants her to live, because in every scenario that he sees the world continuing, she and Kingfisher had to be mated and they had to be fighting at each other's side. And so if she dies in this moment back in Evelia or wherever they are, after she's dying because she's being turned, or she hasn't been turned yet, like, he needs her to say, yes, okay, I'm going to do this, so that she at least lives, because then there's no chance for the universe. So I don't know if it's like, I need you to do something very specific, or it's like, I just need you to live so that you can be mated to this champion of mine and you guys can fight side by side, because that's the only chance that we have.
He's choosing uncertainty over destruction.
Again, continue his quote, by transforming you into something that has never been seen before. The universe cannot focus on that which it does not recognize. Right. I'm not just the god of chaos, alchemist. I'm also the god of change. I will it, and it is done. So he's kind of saying, and maybe it's against the rest of the Corcoran, like maybe that's why ZARETH and Bal and Mithin are there and the rest of the Corcoran is not there, because he's saying, look, I want to change this, so I'm going to make you into something that no one else can see, the fates can't see, to continue on into future.
Yeah.
I also, the point that he brings up that I'm also the god of change, he would have been the only god that could have manipulated where she was born and changed all of this. It seems like that was his wheelhouse god power, that none of his siblings could have done this like manipulation, because that's what he can do. I just thought that was interesting. I didn't realize
both
that.
of you guys are talking, like, I do keep going back and forth in my head of like, is he good? Is he bad? Is he good? Is he bad? But I go back to what I had previously said, where I think he's just disjointed. Like, I think that he clear, and it's not neutral, because to me neutral is a choice. I think that he is so far removed from humanity or feymanity or whatever that he can no longer be on one side or the other. You know?
Yeah, he's out of touch.
Disjointed, I feel like is a good word.
But disjointed chaos. It's all feeding into this thing, and I think that's your point. He probably doesn't even know what he is either. He just is.
Yeah, he just is.
Uncertainty.
He exists.
And she says, I'll do it. So she consents to it. I think, Katharine, you had brought up before last chapter about Kingfisher consenting on her behalf. Like, she does accept the consent in this moment. So they're mated. They felt each other's feelings. Kingfisher knew the whole time that this is how she felt, right? And then the god bindings at my wrist flared out of nowhere, biting into my skin like burning ropes. The best of luck to you then, ZARETH. Give Kingfisher my best. And then he shoved me into the Quicksilver. She's not wearing a relic.
Nope.
The other question I have for you, biting into my skin like burning ropes.
Control?
Is there still some kind of control left there? Because if she still does have this champion god binding from ZARETH confirmed. That one is specifically from ZARETH. Is there some kind of, why is it biting into her? Why is it like a rope? It's a weird word choice.
Yeah.
And to your point, Lindsey, I don't trust him.
Tricky. The gods are tricky.
I mean, we already know, and again, we'll talk about this in the next episode with the bonus chapters, that he made some sort of deal with Kingfisher, but again, a very like disjointed deal. And this is also an extremely disjointed deal with ZARETH. What does it really mean?
Kingfisher would have gotten more details than I feel like ZARETH did. I feel like Kingfisher would have known what he was getting himself into when he made his bargain, and I'm obviously just speculating, but just given what we know about his character and her failure to pay attention to details in oaths she makes and whatever, and this flippant agreement she's now made with this god.
And I mean, he has grown up in this world where he knows that the specific word choice matters, versus ZARETH, who has been practicing as of late, but is still not perfect at it.
And going back to our comment on the voice of the Quicksilver, do we still think the Quicksilver is going to continue to talk to her? I mean, that's the whole point of being an alchemist, is to speak to it. At least one function is to transmute metals, put Quicksilver into metal. So presumably he's still going to be talking to her. He can't control anything, but he's still going to be talking to her, because that still seems like manipulation. It's through words. You could still manipulate somebody through. So is there still something there?
But just like someone tells me, says something in a manipulative way, it's still my choice whether I believe them or not. So it's like, is that what you're saying, is that his way around it of I can't actually say it and it's done and you just listen to me because I willed it, but can I still use my words in a sneaky way that get into your brain in a way that makes you pick a decision that I want you to pick, but technically it's your own choice.
Yeah, I go back to what Lindsey kept saying of, I don't trust him, and now I don't trust him either now. Thank you, Lindsey, for that. And so now I'm thinking, I was totally fine. I was on board with ZARETH, but now I don't trust him. And now I'm like, oh, he's got ropes. Oh, he's going to talk to her. He's going to manipulate. Is he really giving her a choice?
I feel like if we hear the Quicksilver in the next book, it will be in a very different voice than the one we've previously heard Zareth talking to.
Interesting.
And I don't remember which of you has made the point before, but one of you were like, listen, this is the Fae and Alchemy series, not the Quicksilver series. Quicksilver is just the name of book 1.
Yep.
So while I think the Quicksilver will be important in the next books, I don't think that will be as much of a mystery now that we've met Zareth and Bal and Mithin. I think the voice will potentially change here. I think it will become a little bit more defined who she's speaking to in the future.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be a really funny scene, though? That would be kind of fun to have of Zareth. Are you in there? Can we
Hello,
talk? Do you
Zareth?
want
Hello?
jokes right now? Which
Hello,
one wants
Bal, Mithin?
jokes?
Yeah.
Can I sing you a song, please? Like, come chat. Love
So
it.
then our final chapter,
Oh.
45, Choose Wisely, of this epic adventure that we have been on for years now, podcasting for months now is about to come to a close.
I'm about to get really emotional. Don't say this.
So Saris is floating, and I love the imagery of this quote. I floated for an age and felt civilizations rise and fall. In the dark, I observed the universe, and the universe observed me back. I was born and died 100 times.
Do you think that's to imply she's getting knowledge? Like she's learning something? Like, because she's got to come back as more than just this bumbling new fae.
I think
Do you
it's
think
just-
she's like getting wisdom? Because I mean,
didn't
you
think about it
Yeah.
before. I felt it more like she's coming back as something completely new. So she's automatically going to have, it's like a newness for her. I think becoming something new and being the only one of your kind, you're automatically going to have some sort of wisdom about what you are.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Who?
Katharine.
You've made me distrust Zareth. So I'm just going to throw it out there. He brought her back, to your point. Could he bring Malcolm back too? He's the god of change.
Or anybody else.
Especially if it goes back to the rot being vampirism, then potentially. But why would he do that?
Chaos. Seeing certain futures where Malcolm has to be in play to accomplish certain things.
He just said that by separating her from the tapestry, he cannot see her. He cannot.
I'm not talking about her. I'm
change
talking about
anything.
Malcolm.
Yeah, but if Malcolm would impact her, then he can't change it.
No, he can't impact her life. He could impact
her
Malcolm.
her life or death, not necessarily the things around her life.
Yeah. He's the god of change.
Okay, but let's Lindsey that god of change real quick. If you're the god of chaos and change, do you want chaos and change to reign, or does it just mean that you can impact chaos and change? Like, we're thinking of Zareth as this god who is like a trickster Loki raining down chaos and change. But is that is that what he does? Or is he just imparting chaos and change? Like, is it bad?
I guess my point in bringing it up was simply he can see all these different futures, all these different alternatives. Who is to say that Malcolm being dead now is necessarily good? If he wants that uncertainty, if he wants to continue along that line of this uncertainty that he's created by creating Saris in this new form, what if he also sees Malcolm, bringing Malcolm back, as aiding that uncertainty for whatever will happen in the future because Malcolm is present? So, I mean, obviously completely unhinged. There's no basis in any type of reality to have this thought. But if Malcolm is our ultimate baddie, but he needs to be the baddie, you know, he needs to be there, the tree that rots. He needs to do something. I could see there being a method and a way for Malcolm to come back because Zareth can change things.
Yeah.
Not to say it will happen, unhinged completely.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. Lindsey, you made me distrust everything in reality. And so now I'm just spitballing unhinged theories
What else
at this
could he
point.
do?
I guess the question becomes, is it November 18th yet?
Seriously.
I need another book. I need more information so that I can have
'Cause
more
we're going to
psychotic
sit here
thoughts.
and think about all of this and talk about all this, but we really won't know until November 18th.
We might not even know after that.
So Ceres is floating, right? But she sees a bird with blue-green wings. This is obviously symbolism of Kingfisher, and his importance in her life is what brings her back down and realizes that she needs to come back to Earth and join her mate, right? She's got to choose this life for herself. So she chooses it, wakes up, and vomits her guts out. So sad.
Like you do.
So gross.
Like
This girl vomits
you do.
a lot.
This girl vomits a
She
lot.
vomits a lot. She's got some
Vomits a lot.
tummy issues.
She vomits a lot.
After she vomits, she notices that Taladeus is there, and he tells her that she is undergoing her transformation and that she should be able to eat regular food soon because other vampires can as well. But he said something like 6 months for him to be able to like keep food down without vomiting.
Yeah.
So
I
not
remember
promising.
6 months in there, yeah.
I was like, that's a long time. Okay. And then she looks in the mirror and she sees her fey ears and her canines. So she kind of looks like the picture that Edina had showed to Kingfisher all those years ago.
So Edina was right.
She girlfriend,
She was right.
take your props.
She
You
was
were
right
right.
the whole time.
So then to that point, because she can oracle everything, did she foresee the future that Ceres would choose the path that she would then also become Fae too again?
Right?
Yes.
She says to Taladeus, I'm nothing like you. She hisses it, actually. He says, oh, I know that, Ceres. So then do we think that she is not enthralled to him? Because I've gone back and forth. I think in other episodes, I've been like, oh, yeah, so clearly she's enthralled to him and there's going to be a love triangle. But now, I don't know, like, if she's half and half and now she's the queen, does that still matter? I know that you both have thoughts about this, so talk me through what you're thinking.
I mean, technically, he bit her. He should be her sire. But I think that the rules don't apply to her because she is made by a god.
Yeah.
She is a half and half creature that is made by a god. So, yes, according to vampire lore, that should be the case, but I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah.
And
I
then
kind of agree.
further, the fact that he created her as this half fae, half vampire, so that she could have her own fate, destiny, and free will.
Yes.
But then that's taken away by some antiquated vampire enthrallment. You would have lost me at that point.
Right.
If
You're
that
not buying it.
happens, I just don't buy it, and I'm just like, it's a plot hole for me.
Yeah,
So-
for sure. But I think you're right. I think that conversation in itself gives us the reality of why we can say, oh, why is she not enthralled to him? Why is she not tied to him? Well, because he just cut her from the tapestry of the universe. So those rules don't apply to her anymore.
Yeah.
And I like that Taladius says, oh, I know you're different. Like almost like he's
Right.
giving us a hint that he recognizes this won't be standard.
Because wouldn't he
sire,
feel
whatever.
her like the way that he felt Malcolm as his sire, right? Enthrallment to him. Would he not feel her connection to him if they were truly having that relationship? So I wonder if he's not feeling or feeling something different that's like, oh, yeah, no, I am not in control of her. It's not the same thing.
Well, and more than that, like they don't know about the conversation that she's
True.
had with Zareth. So if they know that she's something else, that she's half and half, then they would have seen physical, like something would have told them that. Like she hasn't woken up and said, oh, by the way, I had a conversation with a god.
Right.
Like they would have actually seen physical evidence that she had made a change and that she is no longer human. She's half fae and half vampire. So
Which they have. She has fangs and ears that if she were a human turned into a vampire, she
Right.
wouldn't have the ears.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's just interesting that they She's had that conversation. She knows that she's something different and some created. They don't know, but they still know.
They speculate because the ears probably clued them in on
And the fangs.
something, but the fangs could happen just because vampires always have fangs. Because
Yeah.
when they were
But she
cursed
has
originally,
ears and
but
fangs.
the ears, I think,
And
were
she
probably like
can't be in the sunlight. She can't eat regular food. So they're speculating that
Could you
she's half
imagine
and
that
half.
conversation? Carrion looking over, being like, "What's with her ears? Why'd they change?"
What's up?
But her marks are still there, so she's still Fisher's mate. I don't like that Fisher asked him to tell her where she is. I get it that he created her, but why does Kingfisher not want to be the one to have those conversations with her?
I agree. I didn't actually like that at all. And I think to your point, you made it, Lindsey, a few episodes ago of how you didn't like that Kingfisher wasn't the one to tell her all these important events that kept happening to
Danya.
her.
Like with Danya, yeah.
Yeah.
This
and
is another
this
example.
is another example, and I kind of
Yeah.
agree. It's starting to grate the fact that it's like, be her mate. You are her mate. Tell her these things. Why is it? I think it's appropriate. Teladius tells you this. Why? Step up.
Yeah. Yeah. It would make sense if they think that Teladius is her sire. Like maybe they haven't quite worked that out because they don't know about her conversation with ZARETH. So maybe they think Teladius is her sire because he's the one that bit her. So there might be something to that is the reason of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you
I
are
don't know that I
her
agree with it.
mate. Step up.
God
Even if
bound mate.
Yeah, even if that is the case, even if let's say that sire bond were there, fuck it. You are her mate.
But he
Step
does
up.
eventually break the biggest news to her of like, this is where we are and this is who you are now. Like he makes everybody else leave and he has that conversation with her.
And I did wonder a little bit if it was his own insecurity here of this whole consenting thing, because he does prod her he wants her to reassure him. So maybe he was like, let Teladius talk to her first, because maybe he's just simply being a man and insecure about, he made a massive decision on her life. And he's just afraid of the outcome, the reaction he might feel. Just throwing that out there.
Yep.
But to me, there's a quote in here, and I think that it leads to the fact that Malcolm is truly gone. Because Teladius like kind of talks about his backstory. He says, quote, I felt the same way for a long time. There were whole centuries where I hated what I'd become and I'd wanted to destroy Malcolm. I wanted nothing but to die and be gone from this world so badly. I wasn't given a choice. Malcolm wouldn't let me go. I tried to kill myself once and he forbade me from ever trying again. His word was law, but now he's dead and I am free. So if Malcolm wasn't gone, he would feel it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is that
is
that our confirmation?
In my head, it is.
Yes. I don't disagree that whatever they had broken
Is severed. Yeah.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that he can't come back.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I struggle with.
Without
that
it
part.
being, yeah.
But I also love this quote because it gives us such insight into Teladius, this person that was supposed to be his second, Malcolm's second. You would think he would automatically be a bad guy. It's Tal. No, he actually hated him, tried to kill himself to free himself from Malcolm. Like we are being told, hey, by the way, Teladius, awesome.
Yeah. Right.
He's a good guy.
And not every vampire is evil like Malcolm. And so does that mean that there are other vampires that, like all of these people who are now waiting to meet their queen, are they all evil like Malcolm? Or could they be used to fight a war in a different way?
Yeah.
Like, what do we think about those vampires now?
Because if Teladius is the second, right, you would have thought he would have had his own following of people that he could have over the centuries been manipulating or to see the light, to not necessarily be Malcolm evil, you know, plenty probably vampires that are evil and believe what Malcolm was spewing, but Teladius would have had influence simply by just being there for as long. There's got to be good vampires in the world.
No, totally agree. Because either, like you said, either he influenced them or they just were good because like him, they were like, I don't like this situation. I don't want to be
Yeah.
here. And so I think that gives us a glimpse of hope that she's not about to become the queen of an entire people that are 100% evil, which is at
Awful.
first
Yeah.
what I thought. And then as I thought more about it, I'm like, wait a minute. Tal is the hope. He's like the thread of light here.
Yeah. And I think that he
Tal.
then goes on. Yeah, I love Tal. I love that
Tal.
nickname. But I think he also goes on to imply to her that she still has her own free will, right? Because he's like, there's two types of forever. One is heaven, the other is hell. It doesn't matter what I do. Make sure you choose your version of
Yep.
immortality wisely. He's telling her to make her choices about her life. So I just feel like this enthrallment type of, I don't think that bond exists for them.
I agree.
Mentor, friend, sure, because they both want to be that to each other.
Yeah.
But this like cosmic magical enthrallment, I don't think exists between them.
I agree. I agree.
So then let's move on from
Ugh.
him
Tally.
and Vamps. Let's talk about our boy Carrion.
Our favorite.
Because now Carrion comes in his full Fae form.
So tall.
So tall. Love it. Right?
I love how she punches him in the arm. She's like, you jerk. You knew this whole time. And you didn't say anything.
We still have questions here about the timeline and age. We have beat that with a stick. I feel like.
Yes, it is
right?
a dead horse. Yes.
So we know that Fisher's dad took him and hid him in Zilvarin to save him from Belicon. So Orlena Perry was a slave in Madra's castle, but she fled the palace and escaped into the Third Ward with Carrion as a baby. She married with Carrion in her care when Carrion was 9. So at most, Carrion had to have been 9 when he came in, but was probably younger, right? Carrion has been in Zilvarin with the gates sealed for X amount of years, depending on what timeline we think is true. And Sarah's asks, and you were trapped there when Madra closed the gates. And then you spent the next 1,000-odd years just living in Zilvarin? That's pretty much the long or short of it, Carrion said. What's he leaving out here? I feel like there's a lot of stories in between there.
Pretty much it. No, absolutely
sure,
not.
I mean, to be fair, he did live 1,000 years. That is probably the long and short.
How else
There's
do you
a lot.
wrap it up? Yeah. How do you wrap it up?
There was a lot of life living in there.
Right. And then he goes on to tell that the females in the Swift line had basically passed him down as their son over the years with his books, of course.
Carrying his books.
So the females of the Swift line have always been very bossy and overly concerned about my love life. Love that.
And I feel like this is something in his favor of he's had all these different women and humans in his life all of this time. If he were the ultimate baddie, unless he's just outright lying about this, he's got to be a good guy. He's had good influence.
I agree.
I know. I keep arguing myself about the same point about Carrie. And I'm like, yeah, he could be totally bad. But he's amazing.
And I do love that we're like, oh, he was raised by women. Women can't be bad. Have you never met a bad woman? Come on now. But all three of us are like, oh no, it's the women. It's fine.
Madra.
He's good.
Plus, it's 1,000 years of different women. I mean, at some point, somebody's got to have a good opinion, right? Someone's got to have good influence.
I didn't get evil influence from from that story from the women, but it's just funny how we're like, oh, he was raised by women. He's good.
We like women.
Why not?
We're cool.
I mean, he was raised, so he's fantastic.
Right?
We're cool.
We're cool.
I do love it, too, that he could feel the Quicksilver when it awakened. I think that's such like a powerful connection, despite all of these years that he's been away from Avelia. Such a powerful, cool connection that he could still feel it, like deep, that the Quicksilver awakened. So neat.
Yeah. But that also then says, like, he's saying, I felt it when I was brought here. I felt it again when the Quicksilver gates opened, when Zaretht opened them. That does kind of imply his timeline has got to be accurate on how long he's been here, because he presumably, if the gates were continuously being opened, he would have felt it. And he's saying it so off the cuff here that it doesn't seem like he's watching his words really. So it just makes me think that just because he's thinking it almost stream of consciousness, that it must be reliable, because it's not like he's planned his words. He's not trying to manipulate himself or manipulate his version of what the timeline is. So I think it's just, the point is, the timeline is fucked, but time maybe has no meaning. So maybe that's what we're supposed to think about.
Yeah.
In the future.
I think it's an interesting writing choice on the author's part too, that Sarah and Carrion talk about how she's previously talked to ZARETH. Like, we don't actually see the conversation between Sarah and ZARETH. And I'm assuming it's because the author probably at the end of the book didn't want this like massive data dump.
Right.
Like, yeah, like it would be uninteresting if it was like ba 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 ba. So we get one scene and then she kind of recaps what she talks to ZARETH about. Yeah. Again, just kind of like an interesting choice on the author's part.
Yep.
I think. So we know Everlane's alive.
Yes.
But not awake. And nobody has
alive
talked to her.
Yes.
So we don't know what state she shall become in. Alive, I didn't necessarily. They said that she would awake. Taylena and Isabel said she will awake. But will she awake a vampire? We don't know.
No clue.
No clue.
No clue.
Or if she's the baddie.
Yes. One thing that we missed, though, that I want to make sure that we say is this specific quote that I really loved that Sarah says. She says, "Gods, how interlinked this all was. Fisher's father had been the one to secret the true heir to the throne out of Evelia. 1,000 years later, his son had been the one to bring him back. It meant something. What, I couldn't say, but I was sure we were all going to find out soon enough." Easter egg, little hint. Callie's like, we're going to come back to this. Don't you think we're not? And I loved that.
But isn't that the perfect quote for our podcast and all of our questions? What? I couldn't say, but I was sure we were going to all find out soon enough.
Just don't listen to anything that we've said. Just repeat that line over and over and over again.
And over
that's the whole podcast.
Yeah. And then Kingfisher finally comes to see ZARETH after ZARETH and Carrion. I don't know. I kind of feel like Kingfisher like had his tail between his legs a little bit here, right?
Yeah, I agree. He was worried because he made this choice for her.
Yep. He asked if he made the right decision in having her turned. Yep. Yes.
And then quote, say anything.
Does she not ever respond? Or do I just not have it in the outline?
No. I made a point of looking it back. She doesn't respond to it. And it made me angry that she did not give him this reassurance.
Yeah.
And us the reassurance also.
I thought she gave us the very reassurance.
End. Nope.
I feel like her conversation with ZARETH
goes into
is that reassurance.
Yeah.
Yes. But Kelly, it immediately goes to he's telling her all the events that are about to happen. So it's like her thoughts are derailed because he's telling us what will happen.
They don't
next.
Get to it. Yeah, but I agree, Lindsay. I think that her conversation with ZARETH is the proof that she is fine with it. But I wonder if they're ever going to have that conversation.
Yeah, but you're right, Katharine. She never responds. She says, "Did I do the right thing?" And then she kind of hints to it. She says, "I hadn't been able to answer myself back in the labyrinth. He'd had to make the decision for me. So this was huge. I wasn't myself anymore. I was a word of a god." So she doesn't actually answer, but her thoughts kind of make you feel like she does agree with him.
That was the vibe I got.
But she doesn't come out and
say it
for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. I didn't like she didn't give him the reassurance.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like that's what bothered me. It bothered me he didn't show up first, and it bothered me she didn't give the reassurance. It's like you guys are supposed to be closer than ever. Communicate.
Is it going back to what we talked about before though? Like, do they have to say it out loud if they're mated?
But he's tail between his legs. Like, apparently he
Yeah.
needs something from her.
Yeah,
But
but
I
it's
think
like
that's
asking
our
my husband,
perspective.
I'm like, do you love me? Like, of
Yeah.
course I know the answer is yes. You know what I mean? Like, so what do we all feel about Taylena and Ishabel being able to start to heal the Quicksilver? Because I think we've talked about this before, that we felt like it was a little too easy. Are we still in agreement of that?
I have a rant, so I'll let somebody else go first.
Think your thoughts out loud. I don't know.
So I think the thing that would make me feel like it's not too easy is if I'm right in saying that just because this book's name is Quicksilver doesn't mean that Quicksilver is the end all be all for the rest of the series. And so if we move on from it and it was like this was the story of how the Quicksilver was important and they came to a solution that would help him get better, and he does say it's like going to take time and they can slowly heal it out and it will help him and eventually it could go away, but it's not like, oh, it's out and we're good and everything's fine, then I could buy it. So to me, it depends on where the next books go. If I can then look back and say, oh, that made sense, or that was an easy out. So I am undetermined right now.
It's too easy. I just can't buy it. The Quicksilver was literally saying he will die without us in it. And all of a sudden, they could just take it out of him. Yeah, they have to do it slowly over a little bit of time, but all of a sudden, a half witch and Taylena can heal him. But I do have one redeeming thought here.
Yeah, I have a thought you just made me think.
So if this was the bargain that Kingfisher made with ZARETH, maybe the bargain was he got the Quicksilver in his eyes as literally a child, right? He ignored ZARETH reaching out to him several times since then. Eventually, he made some kind of bargain to be ZARETH's champion. And what if it was with the full knowledge of all of this utter suffering he was going to go through and a chance to meet his mate? And if his mate accepted his bond, the mating bond with them, then the Quicksilver would leave as a way for basically ZARETH to manipulate the entire situation, control Kingfisher through that Quicksilver until his being ZARETH's ultimate goal of what has just transpired takes place. And that's kind of like his reward at the end. Like, all of this has happened. You've fulfilled your end of the bargain. Now, because I can control the Quicksilver, I'm willing to leave you and leave you alive. And so that's maybe why their magic works. That bizarre explanation would do it for me.
Yeah.
But just simply, oh no, they're just going to heal him now. It's just too easy. It's just too easy.
Here's the thing I'm thinking now, though. If ZARETH was able to cut Ceres from the tapestry of the universe and nobody can influence them anymore, wouldn't that then cut Kingfisher off as her mate from the influence of the gods, which is in essence what the Quicksilver was? So does her making this deal with ZARETH give the reason why the Quicksilver in his eye can go away, because he's not bound to that anymore? Nobody can see them, nobody can control them.
Yeah, I think we could basically be giving explanations to the same thing, right? Is that somehow whatever bargain she has struck is the bargain necessary for this Quicksilver to now be allowed to leave Kingfisher.
And I feel like she's now a whole different being that's never been seen before. Like, if we hadn't just seen one of our main characters turn into a whole different being, it would be a lot harder to accept the fact that all of a sudden the Quicksilver is different. But the fact that we've seen such a massive change, it kind of opens it up that other things can change too, like the Quicksilver being such a problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's explained away a little bit easier because now the god of chaos and change is involved. He can change whatever he wants.
He can change whatever he wants. He wills it and it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could buy that explanation other than just,
more than just that they could do it.
they
yes,
could do it.
I'm
yeah.
not buying it's those two, Taylena
Yeah.
and
Alone.
Isabel alone doing it. I'm saying there's something else involved allowing this now to happen.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Oh my God.
And we're told that she is in Amontriath, right?
Yep.
And then let's blow up these last final quotes of the book
Holy
here.
crap. Yep.
In the Fey courts, the crown is passed down to a regent's heir, but if the regent is murdered, the crown is claimed by the one who slew them. The vampire court only ever had one king. Malcolm never named an heir. He planned on living forever. He never conceived of the possibility that someone might kill him. Again, going back to what I was talking about before with his hubris, like it was never even in his intention to use the army because
No.
in his mind, he's like, I'm going to live forever. I don't need to have an army. I
Yeah.
don't need to make
This
plans.
is a game for me.
Well, now he didn't make an heir. And what happens? As far as the vampire court is concerned, you're to be coronated. In 2 days' time, you officially become the new queen of Sanisroth.
Did anybody else literally like drop the book at this moment? I was like, oh, what? She's who?
Plus,
what?
there have got to have been, because do we know how long she was out for under their timing?
Their timeline.
Because hers, it was like eons, like civilizations
Right.
rose and
Rise
fell.
and fall.
Right.
Yes.
My
But,
guess
like,
was that it was
how
like
long?
several hours to a couple of days. Like that's like in my own head. I don't think there are any receipts for that.
But the difference between several hours and several days is big. Like there's a lot of information that went back and forth. And this is one of those things. Like they have had to have like had some meetings or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Because obviously you look out the window and there are vampires in tents waiting for you to be coronated in 2 days' time, which also makes me think if you're not excited about the new queen, if you're not excited that Malcolm is dead, are you really coming out to see the coronation? So I'm like, I wonder if these people are like really excited about this, or if it's just that this is what they do. This is their new queen. They're coming to pay their respects. But I kind of love that they're 2 days early. They're setting up tents and they're waiting to see ZARETH, Queen of the Vamps.
But think about this. The only vampires we have seen are Malcolm and Teladius. We've only otherwise seen feeders.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be introduced to all of these vampires she controls. But think about something else. Does she also now control the feeders? Yes. Could her first act, though, be to destroy? They can't be freed. They're literally mindless zombies.
Well,
but
yeah.
to destroy
Free to die. Yeah.
the feeders.
Which would mirror Kingfisher's acts with the Fae of Gillifrey, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
Is that going to piss off some of her other vampire
enemies?
I feel like she's going to destroy the vampire court.
Yeah. I think it depends on who she meets, because if she realizes that there are other good vampires out there like Tal, then is the vampire court going to get a rebrand? Like what's about to happen right now?
Yeah, because I feel like it has to be rebrand, not destroy. Because why bring her to Amontriath if they're going to destroy the court? Why bring her there? What does that actually serve?
But
She'll destroy it as we know it. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, I think that if there are good vamps out there that just want to live their life, then they'll just be absorbed. I mean, they are Fae, technically. Mm-hmm. So I think that they'll just be absorbed into other courts or live their life in peace.
But think about that also.
But you need a leader of the realm or of the area, don't you?
So Tal was enthralled to Malcolm. All of those other vampires were also enthralled. So their bonds to this king have been broken. So they have a lot of choices and decisions that they can make. Yes, they're choosing her as their queen. But to your point, Lindsey, they could just go live their life. Like, what does that entail? And how many
Yeah.
of them are there? Is it like 13 of them, or is it like
I mean,
hundreds?
yeah, and someone, I don't know which one of you just said it, but like, you're like, well, someone's got to take the land. Why? It's dead. There's no life. There's no magic. There's no nothing. Like, why does someone have to rule that land? It can just become a wasteland.
Or could you bring magic back to it?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, maybe now that she's half fae, she's something different. She still has magic. Maybe that's her intended purpose, is to bring magic back and restore it to being fae.
Cure the rot.
She could cure the rot, and
Yeah.
Malcolm also said to her that she had the power to be able to fully bring him back. So if she could bring back him, the grossest, evilest of vampires, I wonder if she could bring back the land. You know, like something about her has that light power that could be the opposite of the
Yeah.
dark. She's both light and dark in this moment, which is wild.
And Carrion cured Malcolm. Like, why can't Carrion cure Dianthus blood, cure
The others.
other vampires too?
Because the cure only helps cursed vampires, not the other. As
Yeah,
they
but
said, not
but we
bitten.
don't. I just don't believe any of the rules anymore, because they also say
I don't believe in any of the rules anymore.
But because
It's
they said
fair.
Teladius can't make them, and then he made one. So, like, why do
Right,
we
'cause he was
believe that
lying.
those
Right.
rules are the rules?
Right.
Maybe they were just part of this, like, unwritten history of vampirism
So
that
propaganda.
Malcolm yeah, exactly. Like, that's
They
what
don't
he
write
wanted
anything
people
down,
to
so,
believe,
yeah.
so they believed it, you know?
Yeah, that's true. What other secrets are going to be revealed?
Either way, this is where we're going to
Yep.
start Brimstone
Oh,
with all of these questions in mind. Now, guys, the fun is not going to end. We
Nope.
will have one more episode that we're going to do about the bonus chapters, okay? Go read the bonus chapters.
Yes.
This is officially your final warning.
Yep.
Go read the bonus chapters, because we will be covering them next week, because they are massive, chock full of information, chock full of Easter eggs. Their importance in the canon of the story is huge.
Yeah, no, they're not just fun extras. They literally change the meaning of key points in this book. So
yes.
And after we discuss those, we're going to wrap up a lot of points we've brought up these several weeks deep diving into all these episodes. So hit us up on any comments, anything you want us to cover in the wrap up. Let us know and we'll address it.
And then we'll have some other fun, exciting things coming after this. We'll have some fun announcements. And then, of course, before Brimstone comes out, we will have a little bit of an episode that talks about or reminds us about what some of our theories are going into Brimstone. So more to come. And guys, that's a wrap on chapters 43 to 45, the final 3 chapters in the book in our deep dive of Quicksilver.
Can't believe it.
I know.
We made it.
I can't believe it.
Our first ever deep dive series as a podcast. So if you have made it this far, thank you. It has meant so much to us for us to have created this community. So thank you for being here throughout this whole process and journey with us. And thanks for joining us for book club as always this week. Next week, we're going to do that recap, and it'll be a great Fantasy Friday. So happy reading. Bye.
Bye.